Well, Carmel is there
Paying for
on a normal day.
Hey, how are you? I guess you're going.
Apologize, yeah, they didn't roll
So,
out.
So you want me to ask?
Until the next, every day's getting better.
That's fine.
Did you send it for your name, John? John, did you
I
send
said,
it?
Yes, I did that.
I said you were done.
Stop.
Well, we're gonna the camp for it. I was just trying to get around there.
I accidentally stepped on her.
Well, that's what it is.
Taking over a little bit of your space here, Dave.
You're already here.
No. I didn't get this. You didn't get it?
I see a whisper.
Hi. Hey, Carmel. Hi.
10:27 after that. Should we meet there this morning? Anthony.
Yeah, I'm good this morning.
10:27 this morning.
I got all the other ones, I don't know how I ended that up. Okay, yeah, I did not.
That's what they're,
I don't know why I missed that. Did you lose your phone?
Mr. Farley will have a flat, he said he'll be here for the one minute. Oops. Must be a little bit.
Oh, boy. You supposed to do rules or just in general? Or combined questions?
you were combined with the one. No, come right down.
How you
These are all married, okay, good. Carmel, good. Oh, they're right here. In your box.
No, I did not. But they were sitting here.
Okay.
Grazie.
Sam put them there.
Huh? Oh, Sam? Yeah.
Sam put them there.
So you're giving them tickets, but they got like tickets for the.
Oh, should I come in?
Good evening, everyone. I would like to call the City Finance Committee to order. We are discussing the 2023 budget this evening. And this evening we'll be touching on revenue, the City Council, the clerks, the mayors, the law department, judgment, claims, police, fire department. Mr. Tony asked to go first.
Whatever the chairperson would like.
Yes, if you don't mind. Before you start, there were some questions, so I'm going to pass around the answer to some of these questions. Pass it around, please. This one here is the unfilled position. This is a question from Ms. Toro. Good answer. These are questions from Ms. Carmel Patrick. Good answer. Unfortunately, we don't have the answer to Ms. Porterfield questions.
I don't know why I missed that. I'm
But the
sorry.
question,
Thank you. Okay.
we have that, so we'll try to get that in as early as possible to you.
Yeah, I'll ask them and then, yeah.
Okay. You should have also,
Do I have a copy of that?
Oh,
Or you pass it?
Carrie.
yeah.
Oh.
No, take, we can make another.
can we make,
Oh, here. Oh.
sorry.
Carmel. That's Damani's, I think. So.
We also have a question that was asked from the clerk's department for revenue.
Coming. Did you guys have those? Got them already? Okay.
This is in our package? Yeah, oh, it's bigger, there's a lot more in there.
Thank you.
Job description was asked, but we only have 2 copies. So I
I
will
think
make,
Carmel asked for a job
Just
description.
the top sheet for the mayor.
Carmel asked for a
That's
job
right.
Just the
description.
top sheet for the mayor.
Yep.
Thank you.
For the innovative something.
Yeah, just the innovative thing.
Yeah, I got them both, the ones both.
yeah, just 2 copies, so I won't make copies after I do it.
Okay, that's
If you don't
fine, I
mind, or
just-
you want me to make copies now?
No, I just was wondering what the
Okay,
job
so I have
was.
both on here.
Thank
so
you.
that's-
Figure when we do development
This
and the other
is,
one,
yeah,
we can
this one's the
review that
one.
question. Let me start with the water plant.
Yes.
All right, I just want to do a quick overview of the water department. Compared to 2022, the request is only $11,150 more. It's only a 1.15% increase from the prior year. Andrew, anything you would have to add to that?
In terms of the overall numbers, no.
Your department as a whole?
Sure, certainly touch on that. I know there were some pointed questions. We have not filled the deputy corporation counsel position. It has been vacant this year. Obviously, we're looking to fill that position. One of the questions, pointed questions related to the increase in that salary. We did fill an assistant corporate, I will speak generally. It's been difficult to find attorneys to come work for the department. We lost an assistant corporation counsel a couple weeks ago. There's a question about the per diem salary at the bottom of the budget. We're using, and we have an assistant corporation counsel who's part-time, who works approximately 15 hours or so per week. Part of that was related to his pension and retirement, because he previously worked at the DA's office. I anticipate he will continue working for the city in 2023 on a part-time basis. So obviously we're looking to fill the open positions, the deputy corporation counsel position, and now we have a vacant assistant corporation counsel position. As you all know, the work in the law department doesn't slow down. We are in court practically every day during the week. We're working with the various departments. Obviously, working with legislation for the council and for the mayor's office. Drafting contracts, negotiating contracts. So things don't, as I said, things just don't slow down. But there is a need, obviously, to fill positions. And part of that increase for the deputy corporation counsel position is to be competitive and fill the position because it's been vacant, as I said, for a year.
Any questions on this section? Go ahead, please.
So with the vacancy of the recent assistant corporation counsel, are you anticipating any changes to the overtime, or how would that affect?
We don't offer overtime. So it's, if we did, back when I was an assistant corporation counsel, and working, certain weeks, 60 hours, I would have loved overtime. But, we put in the time that we have to put in to get things done.
Thank you.
Tuition reimbursement. I see that you have that there.
So that would be, attorneys have requirements related to continuing legal education. We have to do 24 hours. Experienced attorneys need to do 24 hours every 2 years, 12 and 12 per year. So, I just finished some CLEs not too long ago. I actually didn't put in for reimbursement. It's there so that attorneys can, get the and it has to be relevant to our practice. It can't be, not-for-profit CLE. It would have to be something relevant to the type of work we do. But it's there for reimbursing those continuing legal education credits.
Did you expend any money from last year's?
I don't believe we did. We may have.
Not in 2022, but we've had in 2020. And that's why we created the line in 2022, because in 2021, we put it through like admin administrative expense, but we wanted to show what it was actually for.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Ms. Cook.
So line A, 1420-100, Assistant Corporation Counsel for ARPA. How do you anticipate paying for this position in the future when there's no longer ARPA funds?
To be frank, I don't know, looking at this, it says $91,800. I believe that this position is currently filled, it might be by, Mr. Marnie, by Chris Marnie. We have an open position right now. In the past, obviously, the council's aware that, we had, I think at one point, maybe 6 attorneys working in the office. And, it's, as it stands right now, the budget includes 5 positions. It's something that would have to be addressed in the future, certainly. I don't know if we can really whittle away the number of positions that we have based on the need. That's something that would have to be explored, I think, in the future, right, for, 2024. It's something that I'll talk to, obviously, Anthony about and the mayor to figure out how to, make it work.
Go ahead, please.
I have 2 other questions. The per diem salary line, what is that used for?
Per diem salary goes to an assistant corporation counsel who's part-time. He's paid hourly, doesn't have any benefits. He's retired from the DA's office. He works, as I said, about 15 hours per week. I'm sorry?
Does a good job too.
Yes, he does.
And so would you cover judgment claims right now?
That will be,
Okay, so, I beg your pardon? I can ask that question?
no, when we go to that section.
Alright. Those are all my questions.
Apart from attorney, you have like the record access officer, code enforcement specialist, confidential secretary, IPS3. Do you have anybody else working within this department here that is utilizing your budget? Do you have anybody from OGS that is under your budget? That should be in OGS?
I don't know who should be where. That's not my call to make. We have, obviously, the assistant corporation counsel positions, the deputy corp counsel position, my position. The record access officer is essentially like the FOIL officer. It deals with, subpoenas that come over to get records out. The code enforcement specialist is, somebody who oversees not just, and there's some overlap, obviously, in terms of what the folks do, because really a lot of times it's all hands on deck. That person's obviously working to get our code cases prepared for court. And the IPS position is in my office. The confidential secretary, again, is in my office. So in terms of any, those positions are all, reside within my office.
And you also have Charlie stepping into your budget?
There is an assistant yes, that's Charlie, is an assistant corporation counsel.
And he does the work as an assistant corporation counsel within your department?
I can't speak to the work that he does. I'm not aware.
Well, I took and hired him. He's an attorney and has broader scope on a number of projects.
Or should I go to another department, under another department budget, as a special assistant, project assistant, something like that? Just rather than stepping into a budget here, should we?
Well, it was using some of the money that was in this budget. Are you asking to reduce the corporation council budget office?
No.
So where people get assigned is one thing, it's what the budget numbers are, something else.
For the job description and what the type of work they're doing.
That whole thing would be a separate presentation in terms of what we're doing. There's been some discussion on the modifying the garbage fees. I've put forth a proposal which is more generic. Also, we've had meetings with the council president and other staff members looking at some of the problem to as jackpots, where people will literally put half a ton, 2 tons of material out, and it's how do we modify our fee structure or collection process to allocate costs to those problem properties or situations, as opposed to the general fee structure that we have in place for what I call just the normal recyclables and garbage that people put out. So Charlie has been working on that as part of a bigger project.
No, let me rephrase my question, is that I'm not looking to downsize the law department, I'm just looking up, so rather than having him in the law department, why not move him out and put him into a different department, free up that line so the law department can hire an actual assistant corporation counsel to function and to assist within that department.
Well, if we had attorneys, I might look at that, but right now, that's who I put where. So.
Any other question for this section? We have to also,
Claims and search areas.
yeah, that is page 16.
I was just gonna ask, could you say the page number, so that's very good,
That's why I
thank you.
never thought of that.
Thank you.
As you can see, we kept it the same as 22.
Questions? Go ahead.
For judgment and claims, I was wondering how many current cases are pending, and is this enough to cover what we have out there?
We have a lot out there, obviously, you know, we have cases that, you know, some cases obviously go on for years, you know, so to know when certain cases are going to be resolved and how they will be resolved is, you know, we can only take an educated guess, and even an educated guess is, you know, really just a guess. So to say that, you know, if I tell you how many cases we have, that's not really gonna be indicative of when those cases will end. You know, even if somebody's suing the city for, you know, millions of dollars hypothetically, that certainly doesn't mean that a claim either has merit, and if it does have merit, that is worth $10 million, right? It can be worth substantially less. On top of that, even if we have, depending on the type of claim it is, obviously the city has insurance, and in most cases, we would be covered, you know, anything outside of our deductible. Our deductible is $100,000. So, you know, even if a case, for example, settles at $1 million, that would mean that the city's only responsible for its deductible in generally every instance. So I don't have the exact number of cases that we currently have pending. I don't, you know, there are certain cases that, you know, that will probably arise during, you know, 2023. There are certain cases I'm sure that will be settled during 2023. You know, I actually got a series of letters yesterday from one of our outside counsels saying that, you know, two of our cases were closed out because the plaintiff didn't take certain action that the plaintiff had to do. I didn't anticipate that happening, but it happened, right? And that's good for the city in terms of potential liability. So it's really hard to say exactly where things will fall. I don't see any cases on the horizon that are gonna affect the city's ability to pay its deductible, or anything outside of, a case that would be outside of our insurance coverage. And then obviously we have tax certs as well, which is somewhat related to the lawsuit too. Again, we have some big tax certs that are out there, but, you know, some of them may turn into, you know, they may not go anywhere, and some of them may not be resolved during the course of 2023. So again, you know, it would be hard to say exactly how much we need to allocate for settlements or for lawsuits. It's, you know, really a guessing game, and I think generally we've done pretty well with anticipating, you know, what the cost will be.
So, thank you,
Yeah.
so, then what's do you know our year-to-date for 2022? Is it the same amount?
How much we've paid in for, I don't know the number offhand, we paid.
I can't tell you offhand, but, I know it's about 100 and some thousand, because I know we just paid that.
I mean, obviously, the city council's aware of certain cases that, we've settled where it was, the deductible had to be paid. And then there are certain cases that fell below the deductible, certain car accidents, things along those lines where the city council, on the back end approved. And there have been maybe one or two cases where it was under the threshold to bring to council. Where it was maybe like $150 or something along those lines. So, I think we can certainly try to calculate those numbers and get them to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. That was easy.
We should have first.
Thank you. We'll revert back to regular stuff, and we'll go to Mr. Ferrari for revenue, and then we'll work our way through the rest.
All right, let's start with the revenue. I think the biggest question is, real property tax. I'm standing out here are, the county appropriations where we're assessed at. 1, 2, 3.
I'm sorry, thank you.
And what we are assessed at, how we got to that number.
No, that's good. You have the next one? Yes.
Let me have. I'll get it.
No, that's good. Take it.
Oh, good.
So our assessed value as of August 1st is $2,434,447,691. That number is not our final number. That number that Molly closes out on is in mid-November. So we're actually passing a tax bill, an assumption that it won't change. We're looking at the estimate we're looking at the estimate at that number, and we feel that because of that, there'd be no, oh my God, I give you the wrong numbers. Hold on here. Yes, I did give you the numbers. But our taxable liability is gonna be $31,629,000. I think on your sheet on the next, it's $609,000, $20,000 different. I just gave you the wrong thing.
Yeah, that's last year.
But it actually, the tax levies, the proposed tax rate actually stays the same. The assessed value might go up, it might go down. There's a letter from our assessor who points out that it usually does move up a little bit, but that change will only add to like some cents. So it might, our tax rate might go down to $12.97 or $12.96, But that's something that she said she cannot predict because of the transfer of property and the removal exemptions as we go along in the letter. So that's how we came up with the amount of $31,629,000 for real property taxes. And a tax rate of $12.99, which is the same as of last year. I also gave you a list of, on that second page of all the tax rates as we close, just to give you an idea of how we've been moving on that. The next big item was sales and use tax. We worked with the Schenectady County. We're looking at a sales tax receivable of $16 million in 2023. And we're hoping that comes to fruition. Let me ask, one of the big things, I'm just gonna go for it right now, is the trash charges. And again, I'll pass out some documents. These are the trash charges that, the first page is what it was at point as it is right now, without the change.
Thanks, sorry.
You have one?
Not yet, because it's still transferring real quick.
Gave you another one, or you got it?
Somebody here?
Yeah, we use them.
Okay.
Okay, so we're looking at, this is, if we kept the rates the same, we're looking at a total of 5.2 million. Our estimate is that we wish to increase it by $1 a week to $52, $1 a week to $52 more a week, but not only on the single families, but also on the exempt parcels. We go from 137 to 189, will give us an increase to 6.3 million, a $1.1 million increase. On the third page, I'm just trying to show, the third page shows the budget of 22 and the new request and what it costs us per year to run the waste division. As you can see, we have a shortfall of 413,000. And that doesn't include the indirect costs like general liability insurance, doesn't include the fuel for trucks, electrical, heat, or repairs, okay? And the next page, one of the more reasons why it went up was we had for the waste employee raises. In 2020, they were getting paid $17.90, and as of 2023, they'll be getting paid $23.32, which is a $5.42 increase, which is a 30% increase in employment. These guys have worked every penny. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying this is why we need to increase our rates. Is because not only does it cost more to have these guys working, but also costs more for the fuel's going to double up, all this other stuff. So we're asking a simple $1 a week more. I spoke to my brother Joey. He has a house in Glenville. He has one container and one recycled container. He's a one-family house, 2 people in his house. He pays $47 a month, comes to like $500 and something a year for a single family. With our new rate, all we're asking for a single family is $301. So it's still a deal for the city of Schenectady. So I just want to put you in mind that everything's increasing. The recycle fees, they're going from 125,000 last year to 175,000 this year. Our e-lots, we're for our TVs and stuff like that. They won't even contract with us anymore because the rate is so much higher. They're like, hey, if you got to either pay this or not, So we can't even go out and contract with them because it changes so much. So that is our reasoning of increasing the waste department to 6.3 million. What else?
Before you go.
Yeah.
Bill McCarthy, when you present your budget, you had mentioned that the waste collection does not factor in outside collection revenue.
That summary,
in this
the budget, the whole budget, has it, that summary that was done did not include the revenue that we derive from the village of Scotia.
Yeah,
Does this include the...
That's a contractual thing. I mean, we have it now. I think we have it for 2 more years or 1 more year. But who knows if they're going to continue that.
But that is not in here.
That is not part of the
Okay.
dollar signs. Yeah. And that is a 540-some thousand. So really, for us, it would just break us even because we're already without it. We're 413,000 a year in the hole. Add another 540, but like I said, they include insurance, they include fuel, they include maintenance.
So 540,000 per year. We have 2 more years with this contract.
Yeah. In fact, they called me today. I called them today to make sure where they're at. 586.
Go ahead, please.
I'm just a little confused on that one. So are we, I just want to clarify again. So that 540,000 or whatever is,
586.
It's not.
that
It's
is
not
here,
It's not factored into that page,
but it is in the budget.
but it is in the budget.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to make sure.
But I'm saying that since that's contractual, that could leave us at any time.
And we can't raise that rate because the contract lasts for 2 more years. That was one of
Yeah,
my
our
questions.
rate does increase
There is
2%.
a slight inflation.
It increases
Oh, okay.
2% a year up until next year. Yeah. But like I said, it might be that they might not renew it. So I
Well, you don't want to say that.
yeah. Well, I'm just saying, I'm just saying, I'm conservatively doing this.
Yeah, we wanted to renew it.
They have gone out and looked at other options, and the city of Schenectady is the most cost effective for the village of Scotia. It shows that we run a very efficient operation, when we look at that partnership as an example of good relationship with other communities, our ability to deliver services at a cost-effective price point.
Go ahead, please.
Someone's mentioned earlier, Ms. Porterfield Marion is working with someone, so here you have a single person, senior with one can, and then thousands of packages, trash in front of another house. Is there a way to, over time?
But that's it, that one single person in one household trash is only paying $189 a year.
Okay, so
You know what I'm saying?
right.
With the increase.
No, I don't have a problem with the increase.
Okay.
I have a problem with people putting out, 1,000 bags of trash.
And that's what we're looking at,
That's
is
the
how to
jackpot.
do that in
Okay,
a cost-effective manner that we can manage and enforce and
good,
put in.
that's my concern.
I'm not sure we're gonna have a formal recommendation by the time the council adopts a budget, but it would just be an ongoing process. And again, as the council gets closer to November 1st, if there's things that we can modify in some way, wanna do it. For the basic homeowner, probably it's a very good deal when you compare it to what you pay in a suburban location. Having said that, there's still inequities within the system because it's so good, people take advantage of it, where they put out huge amounts of material, and we pick it up, and if it's that once-in-a-lifetime event, my position would be more tolerant of it, but there's some people who do it on a more frequent basis, and it's how do we adjust our rate structure, our ability to document in the field, bill it, and appropriately allocate those costs to those higher yield
Increased revenue too,
properties that we create out. Again, the slang term that the cruise uses, a jackpot house. And, the casino used jackpots in another way that was more positive. It's cruise here, it's a negative thing.
And just for clarification, it's Mr. Alhorn that's working that up.
Oh, okay, I thought I heard your name earlier.
You didn't, but he's doing that work.
Okay, yeah, and I know in Rotterdam, if you have a couch, you call, you schedule the couch, and they add that onto your bill, $30 to fit the couch away. And you drive down Rendell, where I live, and, there's 14 couches on the street every week, so, yeah, it's a lot of work.
Let's back to page 1. Under street crimes, task force, county. Yes, you have 520 here versus last year's.
Yes, as of just recently, I think they cut 2 officers down on the street, the county street crime task force.
Go ahead, please. Yes, you can.
So for a couple months we gave them back, but of the analysts, yes,
No, you're talking about the street task force.
Street crime task force.
The task force with the residents.
They were paying us for an analyst, and we were giving them an analyst. They decided to hire their own analyst, so they took that money out.
That's the reduction.
Okay, yeah.
So that's one person.
And you'll see that when we go into the police department, how the analysts increased from 16,000 to 96,000.
Yeah,
Because of that.
that was my question.
And the next question is, did we now receive some actual from the school this year?
Excuse me?
Did we now receive some actual from the school district? This
From
year? This year is from the school district.
We receive money from the school district.
Yeah, 2022? No, go ahead.
It probably wouldn't be until the end of this
Yeah.
quarter.
Oh, yeah.
We just started charging.
Because it started
For the
in September.
resources.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, because the line you have 0 there, and
Yeah.
we did an amendment.
Yeah, that's the.
Should we adjust that?
1520, I have to have it for 225, it's 50,000, it's gonna be for 3 quarters plus 25,000 plus 3 quarters.
So, in 2022, should we have a number in there? What are we expecting?
And shouldn't that number be 300,000?
No, because the first quarter is in 2020, 2022. I don't know about the first quarter, I don't know if that's happening, has it happened?
we have a sergeant in trouble there now, so
Yeah.
and they started, I think the contract we start July 1st, but they are at school now.
Okay, good.
So there
So
should be
hopefully we'll get some money with them.
So should we account for that money under the 2022 adopted budget? revenue.
We will when we send out the bill, yeah. When we did the adopted budget, it was not part of this, so.
2022 or 2023?
So we're looking at, so we did the 20.
We did an amendment to
Yeah.
receive that money.
Yeah.
So,
But we're looking, because this is based on what we adopted in 22. We didn't adopt it in 22, but, you know, so we did it in 23. So we assumed to receive the first 1 quarter, 2 quarters actually.
understand. But since we did an amendment to the 2022 budget, we should have actually account for it here.
I already had done this before you did.
Okay, so I would like, if we can, do that.
Okay.
So that would be an ask,
How
please.
much will that be, do we think, for those 2 quarters?
You said
I'd-
up to 75,000
75?
That's what's missing.
in 2022.
Okay, we have to re-add all those columns there, John. I'm just kidding.
I don't understand that you don't, that will affect the 2023.
No, it's not. I think he's just trying to show the
I
accurate
just
figure
want to
for
show it again,
2022.
yeah, that we actually received or get it in last week. That's not affected, but just to show it on papers. Go ahead, please.
Okay, what else do you want to look at? Okay,
Someone asked a question about hazmat. I think it's Ms.
Yeah, it's on this one. I
Tutorial.
don't know
yeah,
who this
because,
is, Doreen.
the new sales tax agreement, we
Yeah.
discontinued.
We incorporated in the base number, so it's not carried as an additional one.
Ms. Michael, can you please make a copy of our sales tax agreement? And if you can please pass it on to the new council members. Mr. Torda will answer your question in terms of looking at the sales tax agreement that is incorporated into the overall report.
Okay.
One of the things I have, I know you're all interested, is how we came up with the $5.8 million in ARPA for 2023. And so I put out a sheet which actually is a line by line for what we did in 22 and 23, it's a front and back.
Thank you.
Everybody else?
See all that? No, I got it.
You have one?
I got one coming.
Here's something.
You don't need it?
Oh, I don't have one coming, I'm sorry. I was gonna give you my copy.
You need another one? Look, there's plenty here.
Oh, here we go.
Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
There's a line by line item for all ARPA that we have in the budget. Front and back, and actually you can trace right back to most of the line items. Guys, got any questions?
Any question on this? Go ahead, please.
Well, that was my overarching #1 question that really didn't need to ask any other questions, but, and I see the answer is that, so my question was, after the 5.8 million goes away, which is obviously filling many items here on this sheet that you just gave us, what are we going to do? So the answer is that we're going to get our revenues back on track.
Right.
So I just want to hear a little bit more about that in terms of how we're gonna get $5.8 million.
For the last 2.5 years, a lot of our revenues have really decreased or actually just stopped, and some just are just staying slow. You know, a lot of our parking just starting to come back now in 2022. Now we're having Proctor shows, so now we're starting to get our parking revenues. You know, our fines and stuff for the police department, code enforcement. You know, they've been real slow because of all the problems. Foreclosure revenues from foreclosures, all those revenues we feel that are going to start coming back again, and we're hopefully that's going to happen. That we'll get back on track.
Do we have a rough number as to, like, when you're saying that they're, that they have slowed or stopped? Do we have like an estimate number around like to what tune that is? And is it, comparable to this
Yeah,
Number in front of us?
yeah, I believe, for.
And I don't expect a
Yeah,
exact
for
number.
2022, we figured, revenues were down about 3 million, for 2022. For 2023, we think it's going to start coming back, and we're hoping to make it up for that. We're trying to use this ARPA money to the advantage of us, so that we can finish the work that we're trying to do, get people into place for work, and use it to go forward. As we fill the jobs, they'll provide more services, code enforcement. Now we're really building our code enforcement up, all our different things, so that we can go out there and get more revenues. What do you do if we can't make it? You got to realize too, in America, we're having a recession, we're having price increases, we're having inflation. Everything's going up. We're like a business here. We have about 600, almost 700 employees. We got to think about what do we do. We might have to raise prices, as we say, or different lines.
Going forward, revenues for the city is really dependent on housing. We haven't done foreclosures for almost 2 years now. We're going to bring those online. Again, I had asked for some ARPA money. The council hasn't acted on that yet, to be able to convert some of that distressed housing into affordable housing and create home ownership opportunities within the city. But that housing component, where we do it successfully, you see reduce need for code enforcement, police, other services, and you create real value in the neighborhoods. And that has to be a collective engagement that we're all in, is promoting the housing opportunities. And as you look at that, skimmed over the first line, is our uncollectibles and property tax. The interesting thing in the city of Schenectady during ARPA, our property tax revenue stayed fairly consistent, in fact, increased slightly basically every quarter, the percentage of money that we were collecting. There's still a group of individuals out there, property owners out there, who do not pay their taxes. That drives up our overall costs. And again, when you look at where we're the tax foreclosing unit, other municipalities in the area have the county as the tax foreclosing unit. We're responsible for it. And that means that we have to, when they don't pay the taxes, we have to collect it. Other municipalities, the county does it and holds the municipality harmless. So when they adopt their budget, they put a dollar amount in there and the county will make that number whole. City of Albany has that, where the county makes it whole. The towns in Schenectady County are held harmless by the county. The city stands alone, and we have to do the collection, and then we, because we're the foreclosing unit, we hold the school district harmless, and we have to make up that gap in school taxes. And it's how do we chip away at that on an ongoing basis to get some of the problem people out who are, it's long-term. You look at some of the properties, they just don't pay the taxes on it. A lot of times they shouldn't be property owners to begin with. But that is a factor that if everybody paid their taxes and came in, budgets going forward are a lot easier, a lot simpler, and to be across the board tax cuts.
Any questions? Just back up a little, the cannabis excise tax.
Right, that's from the state.
Oh, I want to know how you come up with that number.
From the state.
From the state?
Yeah.
If that's all they're gonna give us?
Well, it says, they're gonna start doing stores early in 2023. I asked them, and they're very unsure. That's an authority or whatever is associated over there. They're pretty much, they don't have a lot of things in place. And they gave me that estimate for the first year.
Where is that?
Last page, page 5.
Yeah. it's,
Yeah.
To the top.
Oh, I see it. Oh,
37.5.
I see it.
Once that gets up and running, we're hoping to make hundreds of thousands, right?
That's what I wanted to see.
Yeah.
That's my question.
Right.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
wanted to put something in, because I knew we were gonna get something. If we get surprised and we sell a lot.
We'll get some number, I don't know what it is.
That's the number that's.
We gotta get a year under our belt to really have good predictions.
It's better to have a conservative estimate.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I do have a
Go
question.
ahead, please.
So I just wanted a little bit more clarification on the revenue. You said, you kind of gave an overview. Are there specifics, could you show us specifically where we had that loss in revenue over the next, not right now, at this moment?
Yeah, right now,
So that we
I think
had
that-
something to compare this other number with,
Yeah.
that we're projecting that we're gonna be able to recover in the next
Well,
couple of years.
interest, like for instance, interest on penalties, we're looking like $100,000 loss. We're looking at, franchise fees, we're looking at probably, we're estimating $50,000 loss. Where's the big one?
Are you looking at your
Yeah, but-
actuals, or are you looking at
Yeah, I'm
something?
looking at actuals compared to where
Okay.
we're going, So, yeah, we're estimating now, for instance, if you looked at the downtown parking, like in 2020, we had 93,000. But we're looking at 240,000 for 2023. That's where we're picking up revenues, and that's how hopefully our revenues are gonna start coming back again. Our towing surcharge, we're finally making money on towing, thank God. We're looking at raising, like this cash, 150, we went from, for instance, 2021, like plumbing and licensing and electrical from like 190, 180,000, down to 150, and now we're actually starting to bring those back to like 175, now we're starting to raise them, but we're saying there was a loss, and we're hoping in 2023 we start the process of increasing those revenues.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, please.
So when you do that, when you do give us this more specifics that Ms. Porterfield just, it would be interesting, and I'm sure I probably have it at home, but to also include the 2019 actual revenue, because that would be pre-COVID. So if we're projecting that, we're gonna get back to a certain level of revenue, it might be interesting to see what was the revenue in 2019. Because looking at 2021, well, that's during COVID, so we can't really make that comparison just looking at this. Because, I want to say that I'm totally in favor of using the ARPA funding for the purposes as outlined on this sheet, but I just am concerned, especially when it comes to the staffing issues, what happens to folks if we don't raise that revenue? Because now we're gonna be hiring people using ARPA, and,
Well, most of those positions that we're using ARPA for were positions that were never filled
Yeah, well,
in
that's what I
2020 because of 19.
Sure.
So they were there. Those were positions that were there.
Yep.
And now we're trying to fill them again,
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that. The other portion is the stuff for, youth, the summer employment, other stuff like that is more of a concern, but that'll all work out with the increase in revenues, I hope.
Yeah.
So let me recap. So we're asking for an actual revenue breakdown
Yeah,
from
I think that's not a
2019
problem.
into
From 2019 to
into 2022.
2022, up to date.
Just adding a column
Actuals.
here,
And I'll do it, I can do it tomorrow, I'll send it off, I'm gonna send it through email.
Thank you. Any other question on revenue?
Yeah, just wanted
Go
to know,
ahead,
what is the lead hazard reduction grant, 2180?
Oh, our lead grant that we have through the federal government is, we actually go out and sponsor, we go out and find homes that have children that have lead in their homes. We go out, we test, and when they are eligible, we actually have a grant to go in and we do take all the lead out of the housing.
Who actually does that work?
Right,
Is it the county or?
Right now, they're not doing it, right?
we work with the county does the testing.
Uh-huh.
We do all the paperwork for the rehab and inspections and stuff like that.
So we don't have to share any of this?
No.
Okay.
It's money in, money out.
Okay.
And that's different grant than, the piping.
Yes,
right?
yeah,
Okay,
absolutely, yeah, this is for housing for children,
Understood, yep.
housing for children.
Go ahead.
So this is so small, but I just want to go on record about the tennis fees again.
Yeah,
Because I just feel like we're losing revenue there, that there's we're not getting revenue that we should be getting, from the tennis. So I know it's a really small amount of money that's in the budget, but I'd like to see us be able to charge more.
I just put it in there just to always remind us
Yeah.
about that. I believe that, when we do get a director of parks, I think
Yes.
that will start happening.
Okay, just wanted to go on record. Gotta get those tennis dollars.
$2,000 is there, come on.
Um,
All right, go
Just
ahead,
have
go
one
ahead.
final question on A1589B, the property management fees.
1590, yeah, property management fee, that is, the fees that, what happens is, when our code enforcement or our nuisance inspector goes, to a home, and then we have to cut the grass, we have to, take things out, clean out the properties, we charge the owners. And this is one of the revenues, as you see, the past 2 years have been real low, and that's because of the COVID. Now we're actually gonna start picking that up again. That's why, we're gonna go, we have it up to 100,000 for this year, in 2023. Because we're actually gonna be able to go out there and do more of it. Get our stamp crews out there.
I actually have one more question.
Go ahead.
In terms of, it's in the police department, when there's asset forfeitures, does it show anywhere in our budget as income?
Asset forfeiture?
Right, yeah, so,
Only if you sell anything, but.
no,
Yeah, please.
Yeah, no, that's the seizure, we call it seizure account. It has to be an independent financial entity, almost like a checking account. We have to report it on the year, there's a lot of guidelines we can share with you. But it's, when it comes in, it can only be spent on certain items. You can't use it for salaries, you can't use it for special plan, in other words. But the bottom, basically, we keep it like a separate checking account. Unfortunately, it's actually pretty low right now, just because when the government's acting federally with the seizure money, it takes years for us to get anything. And they just did that a few years ago, and it really kind of clogged the wheel, if you would. But we still have the account, we probably have $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 in it right now.
Less than 20.
Less than 20, so it's just, that's what I can describe it, it's a checking account within, finance.
okay, so it doesn't show here, right?
It's not a general fund or anything, because you can't use it.
Yeah, you can't put it into attaching to general funds, again, it's not just a plan, you can't use it for supplanting, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Helps me get my hair cut and stuff like that.
That's okay. No big deal. Go ahead, please.
So I had a question and a comment, and thank you for the background you provided. So referring to the refuse and trash charges, I just wanted to throw it out there. I think whenever we raise fees, regardless of how much, I think the principle needs to be addressed of if we're not increasing or improving quality, I would like to make sure that the city is taking accurate steps to ensure we're holding the appropriate parties accountable. Speaking to the instances that Ms. DeToro raised, I would like to make sure that the individuals that are bearing the cost of this aren't being taken advantage of by people that are throwing out more trash occasionally. I know it's definitely not an easy solution, but I think it's important for us to make sure that we address the underlying issue. And then a question was for the downtown-wide parking meters, the A1741A. I've heard more times than not that the technological devices that are used are an issue at times for people that don't have cell phones or iPads or what have you. Has that been identified as a factor inhibiting potential revenue in this area?
Mr. Whipple has answered.
Yeah, so it has been very troubling to get them going. Recently, with elementary, we were able to upgrade, I think it was 17 of the kiosks. They needed new, basically the outside are the same, but all the new guts are in there. We had to get larger solar panels to control them. And as of yesterday, all but one are now working. There's one that the parts that's up FedEx shipment is coming in. So yes, it has been an ongoing problem. We've been working with the vendor for getting those corrected. And now again, there's one as of today that is still down. All the other kiosks
there too, is he had the same problem as everybody in America, he couldn't find employees to come out, you know. We had one guy who was doing the whole east coast of,
Yes, the one guy that was helping us out now, he won't be back here for several months, he was flying out west somewhere, and saying, basically, we're not coming back.
That was the-
We don't have anyone coming back, we'll walk you through stuff. One of our parking guys stepped up and, learned the system and started working on it, and he did a great job, and now it's.
Now it's working for them.
Yeah. So they are working as of today.
San Diego.
They'll be giving him ideas. Go ahead, please.
So in terms of the parking meters, is it now that you have to like have an app or something? Can you use money anymore? How's that? How can you use cash anymore?
You can still use money, the kiosk, when the kiosks are working, you can actually, you
When
can
they're
use
working,
credit
yeah.
card or cash, and then, or you can use the passport app. So you can do either way. For a while, the kiosks weren't working, and so you could only use the app or they were out of order. Now it's going, and we are on it, monitoring it to make sure that this does not happen again.
From a revenue standpoint, someone mentioned 2019, I think if you go back there, you'll see an increase. Downtown was really progressively getting more and more revenue. So in 2020, obviously, the world stopped, it's just went back, so we increased our revenue lines, but we really think it's a low estimate because more and more people are coming downtown and, it's using the parking.
And that's an actual in 2021, so that's, because we're only increasing it $4,000 or something, less than for 2023,
Again, to
so.
be conservative.
Yeah, so I agree with you.
I just have a comment on the abandoned, on vacant properties, property fees. This can be a good thing and a bad thing, that we're having less vacant property, or we're not after the enforcement.
Yeah, we actually reduced abandoned houses by, there was almost 100, right? And right now, again, because that's happening, we're working with code enforcement now. They're going redeveloping their whole task force to go through and redo that again. So yes, we're very happy of the outcome. Of course, you see that the price of homes have increased, and so less and less people are walking away.
No, I did want to mention it. Yeah. Any other question on revenue? Go ahead, please.
Last question, I promise, in this period. Since we kind of spoke about homes, the sale of homes, the homes program, I see that increasing from 2022 to 2023. So I would make sure that the mayor gets his kudos for that program. Is there any way we can get a breakdown of how many houses that actually, or what that number is? Comprised of?
You talking about the projected revenue?
Or the houses that we
Houses
sold.
that we sold, we have
So
that someplace.
2020, 2021, 2022, can we get a breakdown of what that looked like?
Right.
The historical one, we can give you the projected one, is we haven't done the foreclosures, there's some wiggle room still left in terms of the actual ones we're going to take in, but believe that they'll be in a better condition than what we've been doing historically, and going to put pressure across the board because we're going to take in a bigger chunk of property. So it's law department, code enforcement, be able to turn them around, market them, and get them back to, ideally homeowners in them, but some of them, will be commercial or rental units. But we can give you the historical stuff, and then the ongoing one, you'll know it, as soon as we know it with the foreclosures.
You probably saw the paper today, there was our foreclosure notice in the newspaper today.
Yeah.
Over 400 properties.
Yep.
So we haven't foreclosed since the COVID 2020, so we're going back to 2018. So, we'll, sorry to say, we'll have a lot of houses available for sale.
Yeah.
Any other question on revenue? We're good? All right. The next one will move into council. Who want to take this?
Oh, it's
City council,
so hard.
city council has not changed.
Who's gonna ask for a raise? Now is your time. No, not a scale face. All right. Let's keep moving. That's done. As much page, we can do the mayor's office.
Page one.
Page
Same
one.
page one.
Page one.
Was he on the list today?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Okay, let me just see the mayor's office here. The mayor's office, his budget is increased by $11,858 at 3.23%. And that's mostly, the increase is mostly due, raises, on his staff.
Go ahead, please.
Is that the position, innovation and performance? Is that the one you had a question on?
yeah, I just was, wondering about
Reading
that.
I have the job description you asked for here. You can
Can I
look
just
and
take a
have it,
quick
and then
look?
if anybody else wants to.
Okay,
I
thanks.
see it since she had a question. I just
On this?
going to the,
Oh.
it's the same.
Oh, so it
No,
is,
no, it's the same.
it is a data analysis. I wasn't sure, so this is sort of data analysis.
It's a major component of it.
Yeah.
Listen, I also have a question
Want
about
to see
that.
this?
I'm not.
Okay. Anybody else want to see the?
So, how long was the position vacant before we just, filled it?
Close to a year, I believe, when Heather left.
So,
It was a year, I would say a year.
so,
That was
so,
about 9 months.
so I was curious about the salary increase, since there was no one there.
Right, so, when, Heather left, she left at 50-something. The new person, started a position at 60, and, at the manager position with the merit raises of 4%, went up to 62,400.
So in the 9 months, there was an increase, you hired a new person at a higher rate.
At 60,000, correct.
And like similar question for the, administrative assistant to the mayor is, are also a vacant position right now?
Right now, it is correct.
So there's also an increase, so we're anticipating hiring?
Yeah, because when we put the budget together, she was not, we anticipated her.
Oh,
We
okay.
didn't anticipate her leaving,
So we anticipate hiring a new person at this rate then?
probably at the,
That's my
whatever
goal.
rate, whatever rate the mayor wants.
Okay.
Less is more, right?
Just turn to the next page and just the top there. Just go through these items.
Well, I didn't hear you, well.
Next page, page 2.
Next page.
Mayor, you just want to give us a brief on this $25,000 recruitment? Yeah.
And the council had put that in there last year to give me some flexibility for hiring people, because some of the pay scales were on the low side. I've approached it with, if a position is vacant after the first of the year and I fill it, and I have to offer more money than what is there, I can still do it within the existing line item because we built up a little bit of surplus. So I don't think we've used any of that this
No, we have
year,
not.
other than,
We tried to, but the person didn't want it.
we also was, thought we charged a little bit for advertising out of that for
That's what I was
LinkedIn or one of the, that might still be in the pipe. There might be some nominal charge out of that, but I'm looking for the council's consideration to leave that in place for 1 more year so we can stabilize the workforce and be able to hire the position across the board.
No, I just want you to mention it for at least the new council members to get an understanding of why we put that in last year, to give you that question. Any question? Go ahead, please.
So an example of how you would use that line would include like just going higher on the pay scale? Is there any other?
That is what it's there for, but what looked at is, so if somebody's at, salaries at $52,000, the position is open for the first 3 weeks of January, I could offer 55,000 and still be within that budget, so that I would not have to come back to this line. And again, I try and be as conservative as I can with hiring and spending money. And, sometimes that helps me, and sometimes it doesn't build much morale.
Thank you.
So I would think now, with the labor market the way it is, that, you know, I would support leaving that there, because it seems like we're gonna need to be a little more competitive than what we've been able to be. So could you use that as also like I don't know, I guess not a great term for that, but maybe like a bonus for people signing on to or accepting a position, or?
I had thought about that, but had not had the scenario come in so that, you know, we could possibly do that. And again, the council, if you have people who have any interest, send them my way. And the other thing with still employees within the city of Schenectady, there are what I would call comparable jobs out in the market where the salary may be higher, but the total benefit package for the city is actually as good or better when you factor in the retirement, the health care, other benefits that are included in that. And sometimes, you know, people want the immediate cash in the paycheck and don't look at the overall package. So that's part of the just selling public employment to individuals who are looking for long-term, people who want to make it a career working for the city. Anthony has a couple years under his belt.
I think I'm the oldest guy here. I mean, longevity-wise in the city, and the most time.
He's shaking his head. Duly noted that he's shaking his head.
When I started, so I've been here for 5 years.
What year did you start?
84, excuse me.
89, okay, yeah.
No, there you go. Wow.
Any other question on this section? Okay. All right, let's move on to the clerk's department, and that is page 6.
City clerk, the city clerk, her total budget is only up $11,110. It's 4.3%, 4.36% increase from last year. And that again is mostly due to, increase in salaries because they're losing contracts.
Ms. Michael, you want to give us some overview? Since you're here? Not putting you on the spot?
What would you like to? Well, I see there's a deputy registrar position that I asked for to be filled, but it's not in there.
I'm sorry, could you say that again, please?
The deputy registrar position that's in there that hasn't been filled.
Okay.
I wanted to have that filled, so I have another person in there that's responsible for all the vital records. The position, the difference between the IPS 3 and the position for deputy registrar are the civil service classifications are different.
What would the registrar, would that be a CSA position?
Yes, also the service.
So can you dive a little deeper and give us a little bit of like a summary of what's happening in your department in terms of, you know, like what you do on a daily basis? Not you, but your department.
It seems that services have increased because other municipalities are now closing to leaving services only for their municipality, so they're only serving the residents in whatever city, town, or village that they're doing, where we are open to serving everyone in the state, regardless of, specifically marriage records. So we're getting an increase with those. Everyone's coming in and they take a while to process. You know, so there's more time, more people coming in. We have people coming in, sitting and waiting because even from the city coming up here to get something done.
Why don't we do that?
Well, I was gonna ask, why don't we not do
The state
that?
allows for, certificates to be done anywhere in the state and then used anywhere in the state. But certain municipalities now, because of COVID, have limited it to just their residents. We have
Like a marriage certificate, for example. I thought that you had to have the marriage certificate in the jurisdiction in which you were going to get married.
anywhere in the state and use it anywhere in the state.
Yes.
But is that a point of revenue for us though?
Yes.
Like,
It is,
Yeah.
it is, so,
that's why I haven't limited it.
yeah, so the thing is, but you need someone to support that process so they can do it a little more efficiently.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm saying?
But right now, the IPS 3 is doing that.
She is, but that isn't the job description under the civil service.
Could we petition to change the job title / position responsibilities through CSE, you know, through I know, I used to have to do that all the time at the community college.
We could do that, but the issue is that we still need the body. Because we are getting increase in requests and customers coming in.
John?
Oh, please, go ahead, sorry, the economy.
But the actual revenues are down now. So, kind of doesn't add up, I guess. Because in 2019, there was almost 10,000. This year, we're at 6,000, last year, 8,500.
What do you mean?
For marriage licenses. So it doesn't equate.
That 2022 though isn't a full year. That's up until, I think, August?
September. You gotta remember too, on
So
that
if
too,
we even go out in our quarter, it's still only 8,000.
you also have to add in the 4491 from marriage, it says marriage fee by mayor, but that's not really what that is. That is actually marriage certificates. That's where the Bureau of Social is putting in. So for the marriage license and certificates, it would be the combination of the two, right? Yeah, so that would be 10,400.
So that's roughly around the same.
Yeah. I just wanted to clarify that. Are your staff, are you fully staffed? I think you have some vacancies now, right?
We do.
Yeah. What would be the salary for the deputy register?
30, no, it'd be up to the 47,570.
That 47,570, that includes the 5,000. So would you take the 5,000 off, make it 42,570? If it's just a deputy register, I mean, the IPS 3.
Yeah, it would be remote.
Yeah, so that'd be, and so then the then register would be making 42,570.
So the IPS would be making less.
Yeah, IPS would be 42,570, and then registrar would be making 42,570. They need the same grades, 1 and 2.
I'm not sure what the grades are.
I'll look it up, I'll let you know.
On the marriages too, the budget for the mayor's office for revenue for marriages that I perform under some situation, I'm entitled to keep that money. I've never done that, have just put it back as a revenue line item in the city. There are other individuals who perform marriages within this building that, you know, it's an attractive setting for people. When you look at, you have to go out and rent a hall or someplace else, people come here, and it might be the council could just enact a fee for the building, where I try to put, it's now $75 is the fee set by the state to perform a marriage. And just change that to a building fee or permit fee, again, it's still a very good deal, it's a nominal thing, and we accommodate, individuals coming in to, you know, right, move around, do the, photographs and, make it a good experience for them.
We have fees for service, $4,500. Is this gonna cover that training that we approved, a week ago, 2 weeks ago?
Where are you
The
looking at?
4,500, so you are the next page.
We use that for, the EAS and the clerk license.
Right, on the license.
Is that going to cover that, what is this? This fire training?
No, we're thinking of using that through, the city clerk, the city council's fees for services.
Yeah, well,
But actually, we're actually trying to get it for.
Yeah, we're trying to get it for free.
We're trying to get it for free.
Just so you know.
good luck.
Oh,
No,
I
you
think
can,
we're
we can find people that would do
Okay,
it.
no, I just want to make sure that we have coverage.
No, this 4,500 is for the clerk's license and the.
Okay.
EAS.
No, yeah, we have fees for service.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Oh, what's
I
that
want to make
for?
sure it's covered on the.
What do you think?
Any other question regarding, this department? Okay,
Okay, yep, that's training next. Okay.
all right. So we'll move to, the fire, because we, page, 23.
Oh, okay.
Anthony, you want to give us a brief, and then I ask Chief to give us,
Fire administration. Actually, the fire administration is up $387,725, which is only a 3.11% increase. Again, this is mostly almost 100% due to salary increases and longevity increases.
okay, Chief, you just want to give us the.
So like Anthony said, the increases are in salaries. There are some lines that have gone up. And some of them are one-offs. Some items that we have to purchase this year, or 2023. For instance, are a ballistic vest have come to the end of their life, and that's a $50,000 increase, or $50,000 bill that we'll be looking at. We're looking at a new reporting system, and it's quite expensive. We're not settled in that we're gonna be purchasing this one, we're still doing our research, but we budgeted for it, and it's a $25,000 just a setup cost. And then, it is gonna be a little more expensive than the reporting system we have. Some of our other cost increases are due to, inflation and supplies and whatnot being costing more. For instance, some of our medical supplies are up 30%. Some of that is due to some changes that have been made in the medical field. Typically, years ago, if you went to a cardiac arrest, you would get there, you would assess the patient, they were in cardiac arrest, you would treat them, you would package them, and you get them to the hospital. That has changed now. Now you would treat them at their home. You get to a certain point where you feel you've done everything possible, and you would call a doc, and you would get a secure order, and you would leave the patient there. And what that translates financially is all those supplies that are used on that call, which is quite expensive, you're not reimbursed. If you brought them to the hospital, you could restock your supplies there. If you leave them at home, you can't do that. And for instance, just one item that you might use is a needle, a special needle. It's called an interosseous needle, which is the go-to in cardiac arrest because it's quick and it's almost foolproof. It's very expensive. Each one of those needles is about $120, and you're not getting reimbursed for that. So a cardiac arrest could cost you $400 or $500 that you're not getting reimbursed. And we do, I don't know the exact number, 100, 120 a year. Another one-off is some equipment that we need. Our water rescue suits have to be replenished. They've come to the end of their life, and that's a $13,000 cost for the ship. Another item that's a one-off is we're establishing a TEMS team. It's Tactical Emergency Medical Services. We'll be working with the police, providing a paramedic when they go out on their SWAT missions. We're splitting the cost with the police. There's an initial startup that we need some equipment, and then in future years, there'll be about half of that cost for us. So that's an overall of some of those bigger items.
Okay. So we can start from page 23 and just go through, and if we have questions, we'll just refer back.
Yeah.
Ms. Williams, you had some, so you had.
So to your immediate comment about the cost of the needles, and thank you for providing that overview, is there any opportunity for cost sharing with our local hospital? I imagine that might have come up.
No, not really. They're looking to cut their costs.
We've had a great rapport with Ellis and other facilities where when the patient gets transported and transferred, they would reimburse, I shouldn't say reimburse, but restock at 100%. And now as the delivery of services is changing, we're gonna bear some of that cost.
Any additional question on the fire administration on page 23?
I have one question for the Finance Commission and the Chief. It said that all staff can get a 4% pay raise, and we stiffed the Public Safety Commissioner.
Wow, didn't realize that.
That salary's in two different lines, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I believe it's half of it's in the police and
department, half of the fire department.
I think because I thought he was part-time, I thought he did not qualify for the raise. I was incorrect, I guess.
Someone have a pen?
Because I don't know. I will give it. All right, let's move on to
Quick question.
Go ahead.
Just general, so my first question is, that change in delivery of service, that is probably due to like just a, safety of patients. It just seemed to be, to treat them at home is a better way to treat them. Is that why that was, I'm just curious as to.
Why that's changed, where we don't transport?
Yeah.
Our paramedics provide the service equal to what they would in the emergency room. And in a cardiac arrest, it's all about timing. And you reach a point where you have administered the medications that if they're gonna work, they're gonna work. And you have done your skills with, if you have to shock the patient out of a certain rhythm or not. And you go through that, and that could take 15, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And you'll get to a point where it's not working and it's not going to work. So then we'll call medical support and explain what we have, and they make a decision. And they take in all kinds of information, like what we think caused the cardiac arrest, a trauma arrest versus someone in advanced age. And those decisions are, you're not going to transport. Those are tough decisions.
Yeah, sounds like it.
And some of that whole thing is some of the services that the fire department provides, the way the insurance reimbursement is structured today, we don't qualify for reimbursement. And so it's part of the dialogue that we're having with local insurance providers, with both Medicare and Medicaid formulas, and how they allow for reimbursement, so that not only Schenectady, but other similar communities would be able to be reimbursed for their actual services. Where we're looking to how do we provide better and more appropriate care. You know, a lot of it is to not transport everybody to the emergency room. Do the evaluation to get them to an urgent care, get them to their private physician, maybe to orthopedic. You have somebody, use the example of twisted ankle. You don't know if it's broken or just a sprain. They're gonna have to go orthopedic, and how do you get them there as opposed to going to the emergency room to, oh yes.
Plug for New York.
We're gonna just call you now.
Sure, you two didn't plan that, yeah.
But again, it's that appropriate level of care, which gives people, again, quicker, better results. So they're not sitting for a long period of time in the emergency room, frustrated in not being treated. And it's how do you, again, get the revenue streams to match up the delivery of services.
My other question was, you know, I know like after, you know, when we're purchasing new equipment or something for the city, you know, old equipment, you know, goes to auction, or, you know, how we do that. I was wondering, is that in for your equipment, like the vendors or whoever you work with, is there like, I guess I'm not exactly finding the right word for it, but like dated equipment, is there any value in that equipment once you know, have to purchase new equipment? So is it like something like maybe a vendor where you're like, okay, we're buying our new vest or something, but you know, we have these 100 vests that, you know, there's still a value in that raw material that would be attractive to that vendor. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, when it all comes down to safety. Somebody puts a expiration date on something, call it the vest, it's a 5-year. It's gonna be very hard to sell that to anyone, or even for us to keep it, because God forbid it's used.
Right.
And something bad happens, we're gonna say, we told you right here, it's 5-year life, and you decided to keep it 6 years.
Right.
Or sell it to that person, and so if there is really no value.
Yeah, so, no, right, I imagine so, you know, like, that's pretty important stuff. We need that to work, right? I was thinking, like, for vendors that we use who, you know, produce this thing, is there any, I was just wondering, is there any, like, you know, like, value with them to give them old things as they refurbish things or whatever? I just wonder, is there any way to recycle those in a way that can develop some revenue for the city? It's a thought.
The things that have value, we do, like vehicles.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, those types of things. But when you start talking perishables like hose and whatnot, we test our hose every year, and if it passes, we keep it. If it doesn't, then you gotta get rid of it. Things like that.
Yeah.
So all safety related things, once they reach their lifespan, they're done.
It's like that too, the police and fire, both of them, they have equipment, whatever, they use it right to the end.
Yeah.
There's usually no life. Anything they have, they usually use it until there's no life.
Yeah, I think I was thinking, like, if I'm a vendor and I use these materials to produce the stuff, maybe some of that material can be repurposed, so maybe as a vendor, there could be some value to me, maybe a credit or something like that.
Yeah.
Just
Sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
You know, with our monitors, sometimes at the end of their life, there is some value. You turn it in and get a little break.
Right, yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Right.
Go ahead, please.
So I do have a question on the police fire administration. So there's a line item where it's the assistant fire chief at 0.75, and then the deputy fire chief of administration at 0.25.
So
elaborate on
that comes because
I noticed that.
Chief Senecal decided that to abandon me. So,
So we're going way back on this explanation.
I'm not over it yet. So when he retired and I became the fire chief, we had an opening for the assistant chief. But we didn't have a list from civil service.
Okay.
So it was decided, well, we had the list, but we know people on the list. So it was decided that we were going to offer another test. And when that test is given and we have a list to look at, we would appoint a new assistant chief. But in the meantime, we came to council and we asked for a 7th deputy chief to try to pick up some of that workload. So we're anticipating in the first quarter of next year to be able to look at a list to appoint an assistant chief. But until then, we're using that 7th deputy chief. So we're going to have that 7th deputy chief for the first quarter is what it looks like. And when we appoint another assistant chief, that 7th deputy chief goes away. So that portion is only for a quarter of the year. And then the assistant chief is in place, and that's 3/4 of the year.
Thank you.
Any question on that before I turn to page 24? Okay, let's move on. Chief, can you explain the administrative expense for Public Safety Foundation? We allocated this last year, and we were hoping that this was going to be used towards the community. Can you tell us where you are with this portion? Or your department contribution?
Yes. We have used that line we do a lot of events, and you know, we're at the events for public relations. We're out there getting fire safety information and recruitment. So we have things that we give away. We purchase some items, and we're going to be purchasing other items. So for the rest of the year, you'll see that being used. But we're also working with the police department on some events coming up. So we haven't used money, all the money yet. We're using some of that money again for public relations and community building. So for the rest of the year, more of that money will be used. And then for next year, we're still researching it. We're hoping to possibly do a program that's called Stop the Bleed. And what that is.
Stop what?
Stop the Bleed.
Oh, Stop the Bleed.
Right. It's part educational and it's part equipment. What it's designed to do is to get into the community, and we would like to possibly target the schools, maybe the high school. Start with teachers and maybe certain groups of children, you know, seniors. And you actually go in there and you show them how you would stop major bleeds. And you would have a packet. In that packet would be tourniquets and gauze and some other items again that would assist stopping a major bleed. The idea is, God forbid, we have a school shooting, or we have another large event. Now you have people that have been trained to assist to a certain level, and you have the materials they would need to help you. So it was something that happened in Las Vegas. They had the shooting. They had already had that program in place. So we're researching that, if that would be a good source to use some of that money.
Chief, I would just tell you that I think you're being a little modest when you're talking about some of the community engagement stuff that you're doing, because it's not just outreach, it is outreach and education, and really it's preventative things, you know, it's really being proactive that, you know, make sure people are educated around fire safety and things like that are, you know, we can't always, you know, measure the benefits of that, but we can measure the benefits of it when it doesn't happen.
Correct.
So I would just.
I can tell you pretty certain how many fires we had, and we can project how many we're gonna have. You know, we do 35, 50 structure fires second alarm fires on average. That doesn't include the fires that we prevented from going to a second alarm, because we were there quick and we got in there fast, and our people did a good job. But I can't tell you how many we prevented. So we are out in the community. We gave away some smoke detectors at an event that we did. We're in the schools, we're at other community events. And we do hear the stories. It was Lexington Avenue, I think, fire approximately, they all blended together. It's one big fire in my head. But it was a fire that was started, and it was a Saturday, I believe. Parents were sleeping in the bed, and the girl, a young girl, I forget how old she was young, 7, 8, 9, I don't remember.
Down, is this the one between Grand and Knott?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that child went through one of our fire prevention talks. She executed the plan perfectly. She did everything that was taught. So that's one we know worked. And there are many more that have worked that we just never know. So the community outreach is extremely important.
I appreciate the detail on what you're doing there. Those are things that we needed in our community. But if I can recall, when we passed this out last year, it was primarily towards athletic events, driven towards the youth that engage the police department. Was one of the reasons why we changed it into public safety was a public athletic.
Well, I think in other communities it might have been like a PAL.
Yes.
But I think
Police
that
athletic
because we're combining, these guys are working together as departments, that Public Safety Foundation name came about. But I think it's any community outreach events that either is doing.
Yeah, I think it's correct, that we changed it to public safety to accommodate the, was it primarily driven to engage the youth in athletic?
Well, it's to engage the youth, could have been athletics. In some of it, this whole thing, COVID has shifted the whole thing at a slower pace for the engagement, but it's delayed that groundwork for really recruitment in both police and fire.
Yeah, because I would like to see it, we can go back to where we originally set out this for, so engage the youth in athletic events, whatever we need to do to help that if we're there, rather than putting money to buy meaningful, supplies and sharing things out, which is good, but we can also accommodate funding for that stuff that you just mentioned here, but we need to focus on the Public Safety Foundation, what it was actually, we voted, we approved it for, things like that. Just to benefit the new city council that we passed last year. Yes.
I was there. I guess I would see it as a more generic. I mean, I know when the 5 Tuesday night events were held, for example, this past summer, and both the fire department and the police department were there, and they had giveaways. Although I'm going to say that I think that the fire department was jealous of the police department because they had better giveaways a little bit, just a little bit.
Okay, so here's the deal.
Which is why we need to increase this budget.
Which is why we have to have the $25,000.
So the police have a very good way of getting things donated, and they have some awesome.
I actually know what the secret was there.
Awesome giveaways.
I know the secret. I know the secret, I'll tell you.
Okay, so they did a lot of work and they got a lot of great things, and everybody's very happy.
Right.
What we did was we purchased a bag for $1.25.
Yes.
With our name on it, that the kids load our bag up and allow it. And everybody thinks it's the fire department that gave it.
Yes. But I guess I want to go back to what Mr. Mudavera was saying, though. I guess I just don't want to just limit it to athletic events, because there might be other kinds of community fairs. Like we had the thing at Central Park, I can't remember which one that was, but I mean, like, even think about like a Juneteenth or the Caribbean Day or any of those kinds of festivals. If our folks are there and have giveaways, those I think should be under the same umbrella.
Yeah, I understand, but let me just mention, I'm trying to look, it was a year ago, 2 years ago, the chief, they were doing these community events, and it was like $500 per event, and they were seeking donation from outside
Sure.
agencies.
Sure.
And we did add it in the budget in 2021, and we continue here, $6,000, so $500 per month per event over the
Oh, okay.
12-month period. So
Okay.
that is in the police budget of $500 per event. Exactly what they did over the 2-year period. So
You mean that's their 25,000?
No, that is
oh,
a
it's
separate line
additional.
item,
Oh,
again, yes.
Well,
So I
so we're not talking about the police department.
no wonder, yeah, we're not talking, so I just want to mention that, Mr. Torre.
So, of all the giveaways, does anyone have a mayor air freshener? I do. I have them in the car. I got the whole stack of them, yes.
It goes directly to code enforcement.
There you go,
and
code
building.
enforcement.
It was code enforcement, that's right.
Mr. Motivaren, I did want,
Go ahead, please.
I wanted to, in terms of the, where you're saying that it should only be around athletics, in terms of the fire department, which is what we're talking about. I'm not sure how that really looks, I understand with the police department, but, like the program that you talked about, Stop the Bleed, I think that's like, that to me is just something that actually just makes sense, because you're teaching a skill, and then if people are in that unfortunate circumstance where they have to be able to need it, I think it's a good thing to teach children, or anyone that you're going to teach, and also, it's something, once they learn the skill, you know, it's there. And actually, I actually witnessed something similar to that, where, so I was there, and someone got shot outside of the office where I worked, and there was a guy who had been in the military, apparently, and he knew how to do a tourniquet, and that helped save that person until, you know, until the paramedics came. So I understand the police part of it, but I think that we should have a little bit more leeway in terms of what we do with the fire department.
And I think when we discussed this last year, it was the mayor's request to divide this money up between the two agencies, the department, because we were given, based on the police reform reinvention, we were putting $50,000 towards the police department. And McCarthy requested that we split it 25-25 across. And both departments will work within the community to provide us service. I don't have a problem providing revenue, provide funding to the fire department to help them to offset the service they're providing in terms of what Chief mentioned. So that's something we should consider apart from the foundation which we set out specifically to do the task that we all agreed on the year before. So
in addition,
we just want to bring that to the table.
So that's what you're actually saying, let's add more money in.
So that the chief doesn't have to tap into the Public Safety Foundation. This money is set aside for the specific purpose that we all agreed and voted on last the year before, and we can look at additional funding.
so I guess my question is, and then probably for the chief, is that a way you can spend money? I mean, do you do athletic things? I mean, other than running up the ladder, I get that, carrying the hoses, I don't mean that part, but, in terms of.
Trust me, I like all the city employees, but the police and fire department do not have trouble spending money.
Oh my God.
See, what I heard is transfer that 25,000 into our budget.
I just wanna make sure that, you know, you have the opportunity, we don't narrow it down so much that you aren't able to do that.
That's how I feel as well.
Well, we've been, past couple of years, we've increased our, working relationship with the police. They do some great things. They do a lot of community outreach, and they've included us in a lot of those. So that's where a lot of our focus has been, especially this time of year. They have like 3 different events coming up, dealing with Halloween and, you know,
That's great.
and Christmas coming up and whatnot. So a lot of, you know, supplies that we'll need will go towards some of those things. And when they did their 5 nights of athletic activity, we participated in that also. But as far as us doing a sole athletic event, we have not done that.
So, and that's why the ask was to team up with the police department, firefighting police department, to get out there and provide the assistance to you. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, please.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, we're saying that the the foundation, was tasked with, that those funds were supposed to be around career exploration and in recruitment? Is that what we're saying? Okay.
Youth engagement in terms of sports.
Okay.
Isn't that, yes, Chief?
We
Isn't
have-
that we talk about for the police?
We have a number of events with sports, kickball, basketball.
Okay, yes, okay, all right.
Primarily that, engagement with the youth on that level.
In this Stop the Bleed program, I would suggest that what that does is, not only is it teaching people a life-saving skill, but what it does introduce people into that field, and it is kind of something that will, increase the likelihood of some sparking a young person's interest to say,
Right.
this is something I could do for them. So,
Yeah.
I like that.
I know I'm sounding very argumentative, but I just wanna say that I think, I hear what you're saying and I value that, what you're saying. But I do also wanna say that I would rather see us go back and just expand the, what we originally, I don't actually remember that we said it was gonna be
We'll
just.
look it up and.
But I guess I would rather
email it
expand
out,
that
yes.
to be more inclusive of any type of, anything that they needed to do, community outreach
Absolutely,
around, so.
and maybe if we look at it back, I will ask, my coach to kind of look that up for us, that resolution that we passed with the backup for this, the Public Safety Foundation, and we can share it to all of us, and we can revisit it and look at it, and maybe expand it, and
Yeah.
a little bit of, some additional funding.
Give them more flexibility.
Flexibility, yep,
Agreed.
agreed.
Like
On
Junior
board?
fire department or something.
Yeah.
Fire department.
Yeah, all right, let's move on. Any other discussion on page 24? We'll move into emergency. Go ahead, please.
Just, I mean, the increase in cleaning supplies, laundry, those are all just anticipated. Really, monies, proposals that were put out in, it's like $10,000 more.
It's just
Just
reflecting the market
Right.
or cost of the
I
product
mean,
and
will there be
service.
more, will it be, where did those numbers come from?
I guess.
Yeah, I know.
As we watch
Yeah.
the increases now,
Mhm.
we try to, estimate what it's gonna be in the future. They're all up, everything, medical supplies, like I said, 30%. Some of these other supplies, 8-10% are up.
Laundry and,
For the laundry, we know for a fact the first raise the
Right.
prices.
Yeah,
We know that for a fact.
yeah, we know that's going on for sure.
only needed to know.
Any other question on the section?
Just about the ARPA.
Yes.
So in terms of,
Yeah.
what do we do?
What do we do after?
It's the
Do you
same.
anticipate this to be ongoing costs or just as we're getting over COVID? I'm just wondering about under the laundry and also under cleaning supplies and also under fees for services. We're seeing ARPA funds there.
So what we learned from ARPA last year was, when the budget was made, we would look at a line, and it was decided to help that line, say it was a $50,000 line, I don't have anything specific to tell you, but say it was a $50,000 line, it was decided we would keep $35,000 in the line and then supplement it with $15,000 of ARPA. But then, as the year went on, we found the restrictions maybe prohibited us to use that ARPA money for whatever we were trying to buy. So this year, when we looked at the budget, we said, well, we still need that $50,000. So we readjusted it to be a more, what we think is a more accurate budget. And then we were trying to use some of that ARPA money for the one-offs that we think we can use it, we know we can use it, and we won't have that reoccurring next year. So the money that we're using in ARPA, we're not gonna depend on it.
Good,
And we adjusted the line to be more of an accurate line.
great.
Makes sense.
Thank you.
All right, let's move to the next page 25. Chief, I have this question. Why a pay reduction?
Now, I don't have 25, so if you can tell me what.
Or is the fire
Fire
captain,
Fire captain.
emergency medical service?
I haven't either. Because there's a new fire captain in that position. So his pay rate is a little bit different because of his longevity and steps.
Oh, great, okay.
And we don't like this guy as much. Just kidding.
All right, go, any question going down on page 25? Please go
No.
ahead.
Just paramedic bonuses are a lot less, $30,000 less. Paramedic bonus.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, can you tell me?
It's-
what
411,
3311,
130.
paramedic bonus.
130 paramedic bonus.
Yeah, I just had it marked.
834, yeah.
Yep, I'm looking at my notes here.
Okay.
Okay, because we have some new people that are not at the position where they would get that stipend. You have to be on the job at a certain amount of time,
Yeah,
and they haven't met that qualification yet.
yes.
Any other question on this page?
No.
All right, keep moving, page 26. I think there was a lot of movement, sorry, there was a lot of movement here, just for clarity, can you just give us for the sake of conversation as to the movement, people moving up and, because you have some.
You're looking at the salaries?
Yes.
So every year, if someone was at step one, they obviously go to step two. And then if you have someone that retired, they're going off at a higher rate. So it's always gonna fluctuate a little bit.
My question was about the firefighter academy, ARPA. And so that's $336,735. So I was just, again, wondering how, that's a pretty, big chunk of change. And so how, moving forward, that would be paid.
Again, this is one of the things, because we try to get as many people in the academy as we can, because of 2020, because we did not send so many guys to the academy. These are, we're actually fulfilling we're fulfilling a lot of these firefighters now. You'll see at the end, when ARPA's done, we'll be at full force. And we're using ARPA because, we were able to.
No, I understand that. But my question is, so now we're getting more people through the academy using the ARPA funds.
Yeah.
We still have to pay them after it's over.
Yeah, but what's gonna happen is that you'll have a full force and you won't need as many. So you won't have 10 guys in the academy every year, you'll probably go back to like we see 2 or 4 a year.
Right.
Instead of having 10. Yeah. And this is because because of COVID, we actually couldn't send anybody to the academy for 2 years, so now we're just trying to fill all those positions that we're able to.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Any additional question on the admin salaries? Let's move to the next section, the support. Any question there?
No.
All right, let's move down there. Chief, can you just explain to us what public safety equipment and then public safety equipment ARPA?
Can you please?
I can tell you.
3412,
It's what we,
It's the first, public safety equipment is 8 turnout gears at $4,100 plus the ballistic, plus the ballistic things that the chief had talked about earlier. The 28,000 ARPA is the turnout gears for the 7 officers that we have as ARPA coming in. So for the turnout gear, we're paying using ARPA money to pay for those 7 guys because they're going to the academy.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry, I didn't print my video, sorry. All right, keep moving. Any additional questions? Page 27, top portion, go ahead, please.
Well, just a firefighter for 75,001, and did he move up to another position or something? There's no.
which line are you on, Doreen, where are you?
3413-100.
Okay.
They limited a firefighter by putting in another lieutenant.
Okay, so 3 lieutenants, okay.
You're looking at the
Prevention Arson Task Force.
That's when we came to you for the fire department position was renamed to a lieutenant.
Right.
Perfect.
We don't have to call people in the lieutenant can handle
Yep.
it.
Right.
Go ahead, please.
So I actually had a question about that. I know when you came to us, chief, you were speaking about potentially or trying to forecast limiting overtime in that regard. I see that it increased by 2,000, so was that still holding true, or are you anticipating any future just work assignments with this?
I'm sorry,
3413, it's
112.
112.
Yes.
It's overtime.
For 13, I have 100, 112, I have that. And
Or just when you brought it to the council, you were mentioning how having this firefighter potentially working out of his scope of practice, it was putting some undue burden on the limited lieutenants, hence wanting to move the firefighter to a lieutenant position.
right,
But I know we're kind of doing that with the expectation of limiting overtime, so just in this one instance, why is it increasing?
I think that just reflects the pay raise.
that's the paper. Right.
Thank you. Actually, if I may, one more.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I know there are stipends in other areas, like hazmat stipend. Can you explain what the arson stipend is? Just the first time it's up being added.
3413, 126.
Contractual stipend.
Thank you.
Okay.
You got it?
That's the new contractual stipends for those 4 guys, Appa, Al, Mazzaroni, and
Thank you.
Any other questions? Let's move to page 28. Any question here on page 28? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, just one clarity on A 3414-100, the captain. In 20, so I'm not clear why in 20 and 21, there was no actuals, but then we start seeing it in 20 and 22.
in 2021, you see, there was
Yeah, it's a-
81,000.
Right, I see that.
Yeah.
But, oh, it's just on the wrong line, because it's not.
Well, we don't want to mix it up, because we did it so you can see it better.
Okay.
We want you to focus on last year and this year's.
Okay, all right,
For
Thank you.
when we do the salaries.
okay.
And as you can see, because of the new contract, in 2020, they went from 81,000 to 89,000 because of the new contract that went through, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question on page 28? Okay, page 29. Any question here?
Yes,
Go ahead,
I'm
please.
just wondering why A 3415-111, that the longevity, increased by about $6,500.
That's his contractual, this deputy chief is going into his, what is it, I think 15th year,
Mazzaro, no, I think he's close to 20.
20 years, and the new longevity rate is almost 14%.
No question on that page, we'll move to the next page, page 30. Any questions on these few items? If not, there's nothing here. Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Appreciate it.
So we,
Do you want to do capital projects for the fire department now? Sir? He's only got a couple items.
Where are those?
Capital projects.
Oh, the capital projects, right, yeah. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
we can
I didn't
do
hear
that,
it, I didn't
yeah.
hear it.
Instead of having everybody going back.
Yep.
All right. You want to see them here?
so you have the capital?
We do.
there?
Yes, we do.
Because I have handouts
It's just
that
three
you-
items.
No, we do.
Okay.
This one is like,
Only 3 items, so we should go quick. Go ahead, Chief, you can explain this a lot better than I can.
Okay, so the first one, we were requesting 2 command vehicles, 2 SUVs, in there to replace 2 vehicles that are 17 years old. So it's pretty basic. So over the last few years, we've been trying to, we do a really good job with our frontline vehicles. This is some of the other ancillary vehicles have gotten pretty old. So the next item would be a RC truck replacement. Currently, we're using the vehicle that we purchased from Jonesville Fire Department in 2018. Vehicle's 21 years old. It has, it's shown a lot of wear on the body. It's starting to have some mechanical issues. So that would be a $90,000 vehicle. And we're hoping not to spend that much, but because of inflation, we're not really sure where we're gonna end up. So, we think, it may be a little bit less, but that's why we budgeted for 90. And the last item is for extrication equipment. What we're using now is 10 years old. We have 3 separate units. 2 of them are hydraulic and 1 is battery. Hydraulic systems are really good with certain applications. Battery applications are really good with other applications. So right now on truck 1, we have a hydraulic and a battery unit, and on truck 2, we only have 1 hydraulic unit. And they have reached the end of their life. So we're asking for 2 hydraulic units, 2 battery units, and we would put 1 hydraulic, 1 battery in truck 1, 1 hydraulic, 1 battery in truck 2.
And these are jaws of life. Right?
Jaws of life.
Yeah.
So, and then what we would do with what we have now, it would be assessed and what can be used and what we can piecemeal. We would take that unit and put it on a spare truck. So now if the spare truck had to roll out, it'd be ready to go.
Great.
Any question on capital budget for the fire department? Seeing none, Chief, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Chief Seaver, they weren't being like you said they were gonna be.
They didn't plot for either. I'm saving our stories for us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You said you're running through them.
Happen on standby.
My heart, I want to go to the hospital.
Another standby.
Only ring you here.
So we can have you up there. 1, 2, let's go for another chair. Who's taking the hot seat?
Chief is.
Oh, okay. You don't have to.
I thought you were leaving.
Oh, come on.
With the chair. Bye-bye, Chief, thank you.
Bye.
Sit there. You can sit there. No, he wants to spread out.
Well, I think we should bring Chief Seaver to the camera here. This might be one of his last budgets.
This one I put in writing. This will be my last budget.
He's really lucky.
Are you gonna work on something else?
No, work on Mike Seaver. He's a lot of help.
My poor wife.
Anthony, you want to give us a snapshot, and then we'll go into,
The total police budget's up $696,000 and $696,821. But totally, that comes to a 2.96% increase, which is pretty good. I mean, the chief, Assistant Chief Whipple, and Mike Seaver, we worked, pounded this thing right out as close as we can get it. And we got to give them a lot of credit.
Everything but waterborne.
There are some new positions in here, and I'm sure the chief will clear them right up. First thing I just got to say, I did not give Eugene Devine his 4%. I put that on the police fire. All right, now we can go. Part-time, I think we got it.
So what page are we on?
Chief, you taking it? Page 17.
Oh.
And Chief, you want to give us an overview of what you did last year, and then we'll go into.
Oh, yeah.
Chief,
Okay, got it.
Sure, so I guess I'll just talk about a little bit what we've gone through this year with our challenges. Crime's up, and our staffing numbers are down, and we're working on them. And we've had a lot of retirements, we've had a few lateral transfers, we've had some injuries, and we've had a good amount of people go into the military, be deployed because of what's going on in the world. So we have some staffing challenges while crime is up, but all in all, everybody's doing a great job. We're holding it together. We're not delivering the level of response that we want to. But on the investigative side, we've been doing a lot of really hard work, solving a lot of pretty good crimes, and trying to hold back some of the bad things that have been happening in our neighboring communities and nationwide. We've been focusing on evidence-based policing strongly. We have a really strong intelligence unit, and I can't say enough about what they do, the work they do. We use technology where we can to fill gaps, where our personnel can't fill them. We rely on our partnerships that we've developed over the years with the county, the state, and the federal government. And what I see happening next year is it's going to be an exciting year. Thanks to you improving our transition to Axon, we're going to see a significant increase in the number of LPRs out on the road, and that's going to help us in many ways. We are going to be rolling out a police efficiency project that we've been working on with TransFinder. I don't have a lot of details right now, but that will be rolling out later this year, early next year. That's going to be pretty exciting. It's basically a culmination of things that we've talked about in the past with trying to help our officers and with their efficiency on the road. We continue to work on building out our real-time analysis center in the police department, where we're using cameras that are deployed citywide more effectively to help us deter crime in addition to solve crime. And we're hoping to, we run into a couple challenges, but we're hoping to increase our transparency on our website with giving more information out to the public on what we do and why we do it. So our total numbers right now, we're at 154 police officers. We should be at 164 with the addition of our community engagement officers in the schools and our the COPS grant that we got. And we anticipate, with your approval, going to 167 officers by adding those 3 additional community engagement officers for the school for next year. I should note that the COPS grant and the community engagement officers is a combination of grant funding and school funding, not 100%, but a good amount, most of which will cover the replacement officers and their lower salaries. The additions to this budget that we'll be talking about is a budget allotment for training for anti-racism, an addition of 2 civilian personnel, 1 for IT, due to the amount of work that we have, like to transition duties to a civilian that costs less, so we don't have to pay a police officer that costs more to do the same work. We can have the police officer do police work. A civilian mental health coordinator, which will help us coordinate all of our follow-ups on individuals that need mental health follow-up. And also, what we discussed earlier with the county task force, our transition of our lead analyst from our give analyst, promoting one of the analysts to the give analyst, and our lead analyst taking a more managerial role with organizing and running that unit.
Okay, all right. So we can just go. You're not gonna say anything? We can't do that. Come on.
No, it's my late show.
All right. So we'll move on page 17, and we'll just, regular stuff. And if you have questions, we'll ask the chiefs.
I have a question.
Go ahead, please.
So, the mobile radio, well, actually, it's back, that's yours, right? The mobile?
Yes.
No.
Okay,
Yes.
yes, could you,
That's on
Yeah.
page 16.
yes, could you,
16, oh.
that is what? The vehicle that we see parked various places?
No, what happened is,
No, you got it.
what happened is, over the years, we had a mobile radio district within the county. So all the members, all agencies within police, law enforcement were members of it. They had a budget and ran our radio system. And that was a VHS type of system. And over the years, through the county and through the police departments, we secured a grant for upwards of $12 or $16 million with the county making up the difference. It's an $18 million project for the infrastructure of 800 megahertz radio system. With that system, there are certain licensing, certain things that they have pushed down to the city and towns. And that's our portion, similar to what mobile radio district was before. So it's just our portion that, but the new radios haven't cost us anything. The whole $18 million project hasn't cost us anything. So this is kind of our end of it as far as what we're responsible financially.
And there's greater interoperability between agencies in this system that's in place now.
Yeah, not only that, you can communicate, if we had a car pursuer had to assist with another agency, we can communicate flawlessly throughout the state now. And so it's a system, we also become a hub that they wanted us to be because of our geographic location, somebody coming from Buffalo, somebody coming from New York City, we can actually, our radio towers assist them as well. So it benefited the state largely, but it benefited each local municipality as well. So.
And an additional benefit, it's a platform that can just grow tremendously. One of the things that they're focusing on for next year is to give a portable radio to every principal in every school, so that in an emergency they'll be able to communicate.
Go ahead, please.
So on line 83120 on page 17, police and then something, COMM, like community chaplain under ARPA for 12,000. What is that?
We started it last year,
Yeah, that's a budget amendment that we put in there. We have not done anything with it yet this year, but we have a meeting scheduled where we want to build a police chaplain program that's for the community. The one above it, which is the police chaplain, is for the police officers, but this would be a police chaplain program that we would have them out in the community, engaging with the community, be there for the community. Should there be a traumatic event where we call for a chaplain, a member of the clergy will come there and be there for the community. And they'll partner with us. One of the things Lieutenant Masheron is working on with the city mission is to have them help us with dealing with our homeless and finding them the resources that they need. So that's part of the plan, and we haven't gotten going as fast as we wanted to this year, but we have a meeting scheduled.
Nice.
we were praying we could get off the ground.
Oh, God.
Sorry, my last one.
So in terms of, because this kind of came up at a council meeting, in terms of who would be on that list, will there be different faiths? People from different faiths?
Oh, yes,
or was it just-
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, that's that. Yeah, we will absolutely have different faiths, but I think the whole program is really supposed to be more about just faith than the specific religion. But we will absolutely have, if somebody asks for a member of a certain faith, we're gonna do our best to have a member of every faith possible.
Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
And just for clarification, how would the police community chaplain differentiate between the police chaplain?
Numbers, not that, I'm not saying that the police chaplain, Father Frazzoni, will not be a part of this. It's just that he's very busy. He can't be everywhere at once, so it'll be a force multiplier. We found that at our last swearing in where somebody forgot to invite him, so Reverend Hamilton was there and he pitched it for us. We called him in, and so that's the whole, that's kind of the concept is really the force multiplier to have more than one chaplain.
But also too, isn't the police chaplain more for the police force itself, whereas the community is more of the victims or the outreach?
This would be a bridge. This would be a bridge between law enforcement and communities.
Thank you.
You mentioned about, I'm just gonna ask again, an information technology specialist. I know we are currently utilizing the overall, the city IT department to assist your police department. Sometime back, we had a lieutenant R&D that oversee and assist with IT work. Where is that position and support versus the new ad that you're looking for here?
He's still there, and, so this, a lot of the things that he does, we'd want a civilian to do. So it's, we wanna try to clone Juan or Rosario and have them do a lot of the work that he's doing. And then we would, once we got that position up and running, we would look to have that position transition to, we're not sure exactly what, I'd rather not say publicly what it's gonna be, but we're looking to have that job transition to something that's very important in the police department.
But currently, you're getting the support from the IT department?
Yes, we are. We just see that, especially with bringing on Axon, with all, with trying to work towards what the mayor's been asking us for, which is to grab the data that's up on the edge of every light pole, bring it down and make it actionable. That's where we need more technical people.
If I can also, we've embraced technology so much, especially over the last 5 years, you know, just from administrative costs of licensing and so forth. But there's a lot of administrative actions that Juan and Rosario can't have the time to do. And the lieutenant does some of them, not all of them, because we kind of spread it out, but just kind of brings it all together and gives us somebody on a daily basis that we can work with. I personally think it's very important, you know, to have this position because of technology that we're embracing. So just as we expand.
So this salary point, again, is a good estimate, but maybe on the low side in terms of what the skill set
For technology.
we'd like.
So once you get the civilian on to do this, and with the sworn officer, what happens then? He or she, I'm not sure which is, those two, how do their duties change if they won't be doing the information technology any longer?
It'll be something connected, but just more focused on solving crime and leading people rather than doing the busy work, delivering a portable radio to somebody or helping somebody fix their computer that can't log on. A lot of the things that are being done right now by this lieutenant could be done by a civilian at a lower salary range. And meanwhile, we're not achieving a lot of the things that the mayor's been asking for or the council's been asking for, and that's what that lieutenant would be focusing more on.
Yeah, a lot of R&D, research and development on certain projects that we have. Again, technology is changing so much within law enforcement, what we can gather. And it's just kind of overwhelming for us non-IT people.
And the mental health specialist, you did mention that.
That's for me.
Well, we all know that. Is this enough?
Gotta add another one.
Okay, it's for the rest of the department.
So you explained the roles and responsibilities, and it's not gonna be a sworn officer, is that's correct?
Correct.
Great. So where will they actually physically be located?
In the police
They
department.
will be in the police department, and so their role would be to, if something happened on site, they would then go to whatever the scene was, is that it? Or would they go on all calls?
Yeah, what we found right now is that we're not having a problem with handling the scene. We're having a problem with the follow-up with what happens next.
Okay.
What do we do with them? So what we're looking to do, and Lieutenant Mascheron can speak a lot more intelligently on this than I can, but we're looking to have somebody who really is a caseworker on our end, that when we ask, well, what happened with this person? They can say, oh yeah, well, we refer them to City Mission or Catholic Charities or New Choices, and they're working with them, and this is the contact there. So that when we're going to a scene and we know that they're there, we have the appropriate case to really dive into to say, okay, well, what's going on with this person? So they don't just kind of linger out in the community. We have a couple of good examples of follow-up that Ryan and Nick did on individuals that became success stories. So we're looking again to replicate that with a civilian rather than sworn.
So policing is a 24-hour day, and so this person can't work 24 hours. So how's it cover the not 9 to 5? It's outside of those times.
Yeah. We're hoping that if it's successful, that we're here next year asking for 2 more, or whatever we need. But yeah, this would just be to get us started. We recognize that there might be a need 24/7 that we need to fill.
Yeah, we still have protocols in place that refer an individual to a specific assistant mental health. This would be a lot more follow-up. The chief referred to a couple successful cases that we had calls daily on some individuals that we no longer have because of, we finally got them on the right track. It took a long time to get them there, but so we have a lot more, we deal with more mental health issues now probably than ever. And so it's just to kind of really, I'm not gonna say it's a Band-Aid on everything, but at least it's a step in the right direction to get things moving in mental health.
And it almost sounds like it's a tool for you, correct? So that you know where the individual is at all times. So it's not like you're going to call on this mental health person at 2 a.m. You're going to take your action of how you've been working it, and then perhaps they do the follow-up and let you know and keep eye on where this individual is and how he or she's progressing.
Exactly. It's a resource for us that helps coordinate, has more knowledge about what to do. You know, we're good at de-escalation, but we're not very good with follow-up. That's where the individuals that we bring in, we know that they'll know how to follow up. For domestic violence, we run a multidisciplinary team where we bring all the players in on a monthly meeting and talk about the individuals with the most needs. We'd like to do that similar setup for mental health individuals so that, you know, again, they're not forgotten, they're spoken about on a monthly basis, and they get the help that they need.
Yeah, just a comment, last year when we were talking, and this is in McCarthy, we were more heavy conversation toward consulting the mental health with an established agency. And I think that was the heavy conversation towards last year into this year. So I want to know what's the difference between that? Are we not doing that, or are we just going to specialists?
We still look for partnerships with existing organizations, whether it's Ellis or other, and some of it is what's appropriate for a particular individual. But the reality is, need some of the staffing in-house to be able to do the evaluation, the follow-up, and we'll call some of the appropriate management between those partnerships.
No, exactly, that's correct. But at the same point, I mean, we can complement by hiring someone, a specialist in-house, but at the same time, we need to focus on consulting some of these mental health so that complement the PD department by calling in and getting help, but there's no way here funded. So I think we need to look at that
sometimes, depending on what the level of service is, there's other areas where the county would pay for it, or other things where it's not the responsibility of the police department.
I was just wondering, I think that, do we not still have a contract with Northern Rivers or some, I think, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
We contract with, and I think maybe it's under fees for service, but I'm not sure.
Do we have that?
I was just assuming it was, which is, that's a bad word, but.
Northern Rivers,
So they are the contract that I think you're referring to, Mr. Mover, that we still have.
So if you need mental health assistance, you call Northern River. So
That would be
is that
24/7.
correct statement?
They're one of the people we call.
It depends on the fact pattern of the individual circumstances.
And what line are they paid?
So if we have a consultant that we're calling, or 1 or 2, then what is the purpose of the mental health specialist?
They're the coordinator, so if you think of like a hub and spoke model, where this person will be the hub, and then the spokes are all our different resources, Northern Rivers, Catholic Charities, Ellis Hospital. One of the challenges we run into is Northern Rivers are contracted with us, and then they run into a staffing shortage.
Yeah.
Ellis Hospital has a place for mental health, then they'll call us up and say they're shut down, bring them to Albany Med. They shut down their facility on State Street for the children. So having that administrative support to say, well, who are we calling today for this? You know, it's just a lot. And Ryan and Nick are overwhelmed dealing with everything else. So this person would be there to support us and help us really focus on coordinating everything.
So it seems like this person is a coordinator, kind of a service navigator for people who, would this person, part of their job responsibility, would they be expected to show up to a call to maybe where there's a need, or there's some trouble escalating someone or de-escalating someone or things like that? Or would that kind of just their sole purpose and focus is just going to be resource navigation and coordination?
I don't think we have an answer for that yet. It depends on who we hire. They would have to be a clinician for us to send them in to talk to somebody. But so we wouldn't want to limit ourselves to say that we wouldn't hire somebody and then use them possibly.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't want to say that that's definitely the model and then not be able to find that person and then sit back and wait.
We have domestic violence advocates within our building that actually have office space within the building, and allows the officers to go and kind of pick their brains from time to time. This person also be that link up with the officers, that they can get that professional advice and then handle the call maybe differently or better suited to handle the call. And then the follow-up is the work that they would make sure that person's receiving the services that they need.
I think, if I could just, because there's a clear need for that. That makes really good sense to me. I guess, then in my thought, there might still be kind of a bit of a void there for that person that can be on-site support in the midst of a crisis, right? Like, so I don't, now that I'm looking at this, it seems like these are two very different needs. Like, one is coordination, service navigation, that liaison between agencies and partnering community partners. But what about that in the moment, crisis response, mental health professional that can support officers,
Going out on a call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in the field, sorry.
That's something we'd like to get to at some point, for sure.
I believe Northern Rivers will do it now. They'll come out if staff is available, to assist with us. Again, this is growing. This is going to grow into, I think, almost its own unit at some point. We just don't have the luxury of having someone from Northern Rivers into our building right now that kind of foster this program and make it better.
So, and Chief, you were saying that it's something you like, but right now that's not the pressing need, is what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, it's almost like we got to get the program started.
How do you walk before you get run? And where we're talking about what happens in the city of Schenectady, again, it's not just isolated here, it happens in the towns, other communities.
Right.
And so some of this still has to be guided through the dispatch center. When these calls are evaluated, how do you manage it? How do you get the appropriate resources to the situation and best deal with it?
So my question is around their, will this be an MSW or a CSW for that position particularly? What?
We haven't made that decision yet. We were going to rely on the county to help guide us on what the perfect person requirements would be. We might even look to the county and see if there's anybody who wants to come work for us, but it's, if we could get an MSW for sure, we'd like that. I mean, I think the higher the standards, the better, but we wouldn't want to limit ourselves to holding off until we found somebody, especially with what we budgeted. Might not be possible.
Yes, that's gonna be, that's why I wanna know. I mean, it's important that you have the person that has the best skill set for this, but also you're gonna have to put in a salary that they're willing to come for that, so.
Right.
I'm not sure that's it, if you want the MSW, so. Okay.
Any other questions? Go ahead, please.
So I think it's important to identify, and then I appreciate you adding this line, and it's definitely very admirable. I think for anyone listening and for those that we carry this narrative to, I think it's important to highlight what this line is not, and it's not the end-all solution. Like, everyone recognizes that it's the starting point. I would say it's imperative to have a strategic direction, and I'm careful to tell you what to do. You are the police chief, sir. But I think from the individuals that I've heard in the community, hearing and seeing this in your budget is amazing, but I think if everyone just comes with a different expectation for it, I think you can quickly overwhelm any candidate that you put into this. Because having the expectation of them to manage caseloads of officers, in addition to potentially having to go on calls, I think it sets someone up for failure. So I would say, regardless of your intention for rolling this position out, I would absolutely urge community input, but definitely having a lane and reassuring the community that this is something that we're going to grow, whatever that you choose to. That way people can understand how this is going to further develop, like Mayor McCarthy was highlighting.
I agree.
You have a question? Go ahead.
I do, not about that though.
No, we'll try to go, yeah, so let's go down, if we don't have anything else on the top part, let's go to the bottom of that page, page 17.
We're still on page 1?
Yeah, we are. So,
They put more money in the meter.
my question, is line A, 312121, a part-time clerk, part-time, at 104?
No, that position represents 5 different positions within,
Well, there's no number there.
no, I realize that. These are positions that we actually have some retired police officers, that's been
So that's 5 people, not one.
budgeted in previous years. If you look at that full-time per diem, it's just down to the part-time, line. Yes, they do like fleet management, they'll do, I have their names here if you need them, but they're basically work, 15 to 20 hours a week, of course.
I was just wondering, it didn't have any number, so I put one there, and that was just a pretty,
Just like
pretty
crossing,
nice salary.
like crossing guards, we don't put numbers in there for the crossing guards. Well,
It
the
doesn't say,
reason is
there's
that
nothing.
we have 17 in there, and we want 18, but we're not increasing the
The
amount
line.
we're paying, it's, finance gives us a tough time.
And it says clerk, which is singular, if it said clerks, it would lead me to believe there are more, but it says clerk singular, so,
No, it's,
okay, fine.
Any question on this part? Next page, page 18. Ms. Patrick.
I think mine's
Third
on-
item down,
Yeah, I think it's the next.
$6,000 we talked about.
Wait a minute, aren't I on the next page?
Yes, page 18.
No, but I feel like,
3120.
I thought that was on page 19, but wait a minute, let me see. Oh, yeah, no, the, ARPA was just one big question that,
No, I was just referencing the $6,000 that the chief has at his disposal for the community events.
oh, I'm sorry.
$500 per event.
Where is it? I'm sorry, Mr. Mudavaren, I
It's
was
the third item
misunderstanding.
down.
Oh, yes,
on
yep,
the
yep,
18
yep,
pages,
yep.
Page 18.
I see, yep.
Yeah. And it's separate from the 25,000.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yep,
So we did that separate, so they have that at their disposal to spend that.
gotcha,
Yeah, rather than lump it into us.
We've been spending that.
Somebody think that it's so high.
gotcha,
So we separated it.
okay, thank you for that clarification.
Chief, I'm gonna ask you the same thing here that I asked Chief on the Public Safety Foundation. Can you give us an update of what is happening there and where are you with that?
Yeah, we've been, part of our philosophy here was to get our community engagement officers in the schools in place, which we did successfully. And I've originally tasked Sergeant Linier, now I've tasked Sergeant Plowden with really taking the lead on helping to build this out. One of the things that we did with it, again, wasn't as early in the year like I would have liked to, but we got the program started later in the year, is we partnered with Will Rivas to put on the summer-long athletic program. Started off with a discussion about helping us with summer night. It turned into a month of August event. And, and we plan on doing more throughout the fall and in the winter, and then turning the corner into the new year. We've already been talking about a program that the DEA puts on with basketball, possibly with the Boys and Girls Club, Friday night basketball, and just doing things indoors like we did in August.
Outside.
So that's what our plan is, and I didn't wanna jump on Chief Marino's defense too much, but a little flustered, but he was a part of the conversation about the August plan. We technically did talk about splitting the cost of it, but we never did.
Well, he has a budget.
He's got a budget, so.
You should.
But we, the other thing is that although we have the budget, which is
cheaper
great,
than cops.
the budgets that you give us the ability to say yes to things, but we're still asking for donations. So that's what we did in August, and so we said yes, knowing that yeah, it might cost us 12,000, but then we got a whole bunch of donations, so it really only cost us half of that, maybe a little bit less. So it's given us the ability to say yes to more, still ask for donations, and stretch this 25, 31,000 out as far as we can do.
So based on your projection of into next year with this foundation and engaging the community with all these different sports, do you think 25,000 is adequate for your department?
I think
I'd say yes right now, only because we do, fund it also with some private donations and stuff like that, yeah, so we kind of married the two in the budget line worlds. We're just doing more and more, we got a slow start this year, and that's what happened, so I can't say, we couldn't use more. It always seems like you could, but on the same token, we gotta manage what we have right now before, we can kind of grow, just like some of the programs we're talking here. We're doing, Schenectady, we're gonna buy some stuff for that, that goes around, if anybody ever participated. I actually went around last year.
A couple years
Yeah,
ago.
it was actually very fun.
It's really fun.
We followed you guys.
On the TransFinder.
From place to
The
place.
reason why I asked the question, because you're putting all this effort into this program, if you don't have the funding, then it becomes useless to your department and wasting your time. So if we look at it and if there's additional funding, you should let us know and we can set aside additional funding so that you can carry this program successful.
We're just gonna make sure we build the fire department this year.
What?
We're gonna build the fire department at 50%.
They kind of do better on those kinds of
Yeah.
things.
He won't make eye contact
The
sometimes.
fire department pay their share.
I will just ask the mayor to just transfer back the money out to you.
Exactly.
All right, any questions? Any additional question on page 18?
No, just mine. Oh.
Cool, go ahead, please.
So, I'm looking here at, the anti-racism training. Is that a one-time training, or is we looking to do that like for every officer, and there's, going to be some?
The conversations we've been having so far have revolved around bringing it in for an immediate 8-hour training, with then having follow-up refreshers every year, 4-hour refreshers. That's kind of what we do for all our other trainings. And then I'm the president of the academy. I've been having discussions about bringing it to the police academy. So that way we know when they come out of the academy, they've had this training, so then they could just do the refreshers. So that's where we're going right now with it. And we're very close to saying we have our vendor that's going to do it. We just had a conversation, was it 2 days ago, Carl? We were in that meeting. We have about the Underground Railroad putting it on. So I have my training sergeant following up with them, and we don't even know numbers yet. But this is the number that we had on a proposal that we felt that if we had to go with, we could. That would have been only a one-time thing. So we're hoping that this money, actually, we pay less for the Underground Railroad, and that we have the ability to do the refreshers also.
I'm thinking that almost having someone in-house to kind of like do some, as these trainings and stuff are growing, there's programs that you can kind of train people to do some turnkey stuff as well. That might, cut the cost, but maintain, actually increase the efficiency and sustainability of that, kind of that.
Trainers type of thing?
Yeah, trainers, and I think a suggestion, just due to the nature of the training, that it is facilitated by, someone outside, but you have those people inside that act as the support roles and can kind of run some of those refreshers throughout the year.
Again, it's a new program, it's trying to grow it out, it's just trying to get our hands around it to begin with.
Yeah,
It's sometimes the hardest part, the first step.
Well, Chief, I guess a couple of us attended the training that you invited us to down at Zone 5, where they had actually implicit bias training as part of that. Is that something that's continually ongoing as new recruits are coming through Zone 5, or is that just?
That training is done in Zone 5. That's procedural justice, and we have procedural justice 1, 2, and 3, and I believe procedural justice 3 is the implicit bias training.
Okay. So that is ongoing, and
That is
it's on its own
ongoing.
pocket.
It starts at the academy, and it's ongoing.
That's what I thought, I just wanted to be 100%. Thank you.
Question for the mayor. Mayor, county dispatch. And on hold on this here, what are we supposed to save on this, county dispatch?
Where is that?
I'm all the time on this.
Where is that?
Which line are you looking at?
404C.
404C, county dispatch. What are we supposed to be saving rather than spending more money on this one? 1.991 mil, page 18, almost at the top.
It's 3120 404C.
I think some of that, they just settled a new contract, I think part of that is a new contract, but they had a lot of vacancies within the county. I don't want to speak for them, but there's a.
He hasn't done it for 440 years.
They just signed a contract this month, that gave pay raises and other things. It just becomes the ability to recruit and retain qualified employees. And I still believe that we are saving money and providing better service having the consolidated dispatch.
Questions? Any kind of question? Chief, can you, all of it's about maintenance, oh, I see your hand, can you get the hand?
He didn't.
I'm just kidding. Were you putting your hand like this? Go ahead, sorry.
Chief, I had a question about the maintenance contracts, A3120, reading this in. Almost doubles, do you just have like an explanation or?
Yeah, I can explain this one. Last year when we did it, it got reduced more than we intended. I had to actually transfer money to this line this year, up to upwards almost $100,000, $90-some thousand to cover the costs. This 265 is we have a, our administrative expense sheet that we actually probably justify a lot of these lines. And these are pretty much hard numbers, but maintenance agreements have been going up. And this, again, the technology we talked about before, this is all different fees for licensing, fees for maintenance agreements on certain softwares. And unfortunately, it's just very under budget in 2022. So we did transfer money, we live within our budget here, but it just, this is just making a more accurate number. So.
Thank you.
Any other question on this page?
ARPA.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's
So you have 10 officers, with funding go through ARPA, so that again, releases my question, what do we do?
It's the same, I think, same answer, right?
It's
I think it's for Anthony, but
For the quote, yes, our proportion of clothing trackers is that?
no
I'm
salaries.
talking about 833-100, it's step one officers, 10.
Oh, yeah, those are, 10 officers. Those are the 10 officers coming out, from, these are the 10 officers that were filling the positions.
Yeah. This is just replacement, during the COVID era, when we went down, retirements and so forth, that ARPA allows us to replace under the rules. I think the question is how.
Yes, that's what the question is. The question is what
Yeah.
happens after.
Right.
No, and we're aware of that and conscious of it. From a police department, it's a little hard. We're not in the revenue-making business, but I do think, like Anthony spoke about before, our revenues have steady increase. I think they're gonna go further. We've taken on some initiatives within our traffic division, for instance, just over the past few months, and generated probably another 50 or 60% of fine tickets, and this is gain compliance,
Hopefully that's
and that, we're hitting our heavy accent areas within the city and writing more tickets. And the cause is, the reason we're doing it is not for the fine portion of it, but for the, try to reduce accents. But in the same portion, same time, there's a benefit as far as revenues coming in, to get tickets and so forth. And we want to gain compliance, but those other things within there, we're constantly looking for grant monies, through federal governments and stuff, and we've been very, very successful over the years, but I'm hoping eventually we can make that pitch as well, so.
And again, this goes with the fire department, they're so undermanned, this is actually just bringing them up to where they were prior. And then you'll see that in the next 2 years, they'll be at that number. They would not be getting 10, 15 guys a year, going through the academy, be going down, excuse me, down to 4 or 3 or whatever you need. Now you're building it up.
It's not the number that I'm concerned about, it's just like, now that we had 10, and then ARPA money is no more, how we would continue to pay.
If we can maintain a steady number, our problem is we just had, over the past couple of years, a lot of retirements.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at is the overtime lines. The only real areas that we can kind of save, okay, how can we save money? I think if we see the fill, if we get the 167, we're always playing catch up in the police department, and it creates overtime. And it's just a compounding factor.
Gotcha, that's a good point.
If we can get these true numbers up here and have that stability of officer stay and not leaving one particular year, I think we'll see a reduction in the overtime. But that's really kind of where we have to attack internally. It's hard for us to attack it externally, say we can raise funds this way, because that's not our task or our mission.
And reducing overtime, you're reducing the budget.
Yeah, if we have more manpower, it'd be less officers working overtime and so forth.
That makes sense.
That kind of leads me to the other question, because I did ask, why is there more overtime with more officers?
Yeah, Chief, I can recall last
Small,
year.
we're vacancies that, I'm
So, sorry, Chief, I can recall last year when we were hiring new officers into this year, you had mentioned to us that by hiring this new officer will technically reduce overtime. But if you look on page 19, overtime is going up on this line by 831, 22, 112. Overtime is going up despite the fact that we're hiring or about to, approve additional officers by 400,000.
No, it's not really,
Because if you look at
It's down
actual
from
expenses,
2021.
You gotta combine the two overtime, the ARPA money.
No, I'm talking about comparing last year's budget to this year's.
No, but
and
you have-
hiring new officers.
Well, at the end of this year, when you see what the actual expenses, then you understand.
So my thing is that,
I'm not saying anything, but.
No,
Trying to get a more realistic budget
yeah.
request.
what happens is, we had a large amount of retirements last year. Like, we took a big impact budget-wise from our buyouts. 20 years ago when the contract was signed, to have it take away unlimited sick time, which, was a really good thing because officers show up more. They finally hit that 20-year mark where now they're starting to retire and we have to pay them out. We increased some of those lines this year, through the unused sick time and unused vacation time, but we actually paid almost 3 times as much as we had budgeted within this 2022 budget towards people that retired this year. We think it's caught up to itself now. We're not going to have as many retirements next year. We just happen to have a plateau where a number of people had 20 plus years, and that drives your overtime though. Again, compounding factor. If we don't have the officers, now we have a lot of officers in the academy, graduating academy. We had 2 academy classes going on once. There's a lot of, she referred to numbers with people on military leave, people on other medical leaves, workers' comp and stuff. Our workers' comp numbers are actually very manageable now. I'm really kind of proud of the officers as far as, we've really kind of brought those in as far as workers' comps and 207Cs being officer-related injuries. But every time an officer goes down, it compounds the overtime fines. And that's kind of really, unfortunately, we're attacking it, but there's a lot of angles, a lot of fingers that touch it, so.
Like I said, it's not that we raised it, it's just that we were being more realistic.
No, I understand the whole concept of it, but it's just that, the whole talk was last year to this year was hire more officers, reducing overtime, but we're not seeing any savings. So that was what I'm trying to get at.
Because even though our TO is higher, we haven't, we're down 10 now, and we just haven't been able to close that gap.
Yeah, that's what I was, that's what I was wondering though, even though we said we increased the number of officers, did we actually fill all those spots?
So there's still, right now, there's 4 that come off the training this week, and there's still 13 in various forms of training, so we did hire some, but they don't count as staffing yet, so it'll be.
And then when you take that number, we have 154 active officers right now on payroll. We have budget for 164 basically, so we're actually 10 short there, but then the 8 or so he just spoke about are not considered staffing yet, so again, these numbers, it gets very confusing.
So it wouldn't affect the overtime, I guess,
Not yet,
in
but it
terms of
will.
what Mr. Mudabaran is asking about.
Correct.
Not yet.
Right.
If they were full-fledged officers, then overtime would go down, because then we'd have them to staff.
Yeah, just want to see that.
Make
it happen, yeah.
Just from a mathematical equation, when the chief said it does, if our staffing can stay up consistently at our table organization, then yes, that number would be driven down because you have a certain amount of man hours being deployed within the police department. But when you drop that number, it compounds over time. If I'm saying it right, just
The contract with the PBA is up December 31st. So you're going to adopt a budget, but I at some point come back to you and say you're going to have to amend it.
Yeah. All right. Any other question on,
No, my question got answered.
there's an item here for it's A3122-112-085, I think it's.
It's the tenants that they're working with the fire department.
That thing that,
Yeah, it's hidden in that column, what is it actually?
it's,
Technical medics.
That's the medical, for the
That's what
Is
the
that what
fire
Chief
and the
Marino
police
was
are
talking
working
about?
together.
Yes.
So the medical
What did I do?
person, need to,
Okay.
One thing that also I can say, and that's, okay, with the tactical medic, we're trying to, there's not an accreditation for SWAT teams, there's what they call a certification for SWAT
No, I
teams,
have
they take
this,
certification.
I did forget
One of the
this.
requirements is to have a medical personnel staff on all call-outs for the tactical team. We're very close to receiving that certification, and the reason I bring it up now is this is a stumbling point that we've had to not receive it. Once we get that in place, I believe everything will be up to speed on getting the certification. With that certification, it allows us to apply for certain grants. We can't apply for them until we have the certification. So it's as weird as it may sound, so that will actually be funding behind this money. As soon as we get the certification every year, they have a couple grants that come out that are for certified tactical teams that can only apply, so. I'll make sure I call Chief Whipple to remind them.
All right, any question on this?
Yeah, just one quick question.
Go ahead.
On A3122-121, what's the special police officer? What's their roles and responsibilities?
There's one downstairs.
they're the ones that,
There's ones walking downstairs. They have a title, a civil service title, special police officer.
Okay.
And it comes to, you have to have so much years as a law enforcement officer, I believe it's 3 years, and there's some criteria that they have. But it also gives them almost like a peace officer status, it's not quite peace officer, but, so that's why we have special police officers.
All right, thank you.
And they all worked with us before, so they're kind of special to us.
You're putting yourself in trouble.
I just want to add one thing on there, for the crossing guards, we're looking to raise their salaries to $17 an hour, 15 right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
That way we can, attract more people, so we're trying to do instead of having our police force or our parking guys do the crossing.
Yeah, we've been, with the crossing guard program, it's their hours, they don't get many hours a day. We're having some trouble getting up to staffing, we're doing pretty good right now, I believe we're.
We started 4 recently.
Yeah, so we're getting there, but we still have the incentive that they show up so many times, they get that little bonus, so.
Okay, let's move to page 20. Chief, can you just explain, does anybody have, the crime analyst supervisor? That is from 16,000 to 96,000?
that was my.
That's the
I-
crime analyst.
Yes.
You want to explain that, Chief?
That's why we moved
I got
it
it
over from
for
the
you.
county.
Oh,
The county was, before now, that's, we met Douglas, and she's coming over, he's gonna be the supervisor of the analysts. So we moved, they were paying for a portion of them, and now we have to pay for the full portion of them.
Some of it's paid for with grant funding, also through GIV, which this is still GIV. If you look at, I know Anthony said that our budget, request is $600-some-thousand, additional, $661,000, but we also raised our revenues by $336,000, I believe. But with that, some of the GIV money was placed in there, our GIV money went up, and so that just kind of offsets some of these numbers that you see here.
No, that was my question.
Oh, you got it.
But,
Yeah, I just want to,
It'd be a nice raise.
But it was also.
He's doing really good work. We don't want.
We probably all caught that one.
yeah. Any question on page 20?
No.
The lower,
John?
oh, sorry. Call me out, Joe, please, sorry.
Could you explain, Chief, what standby pay refers to?
I can if you want, it's just, that's for our detectives. What line you on here, 115? Yes.
115.
What happens, we have, every week, and on weekends, detectives on call, and they get on standby pay. It's basically equivalent of 3 hours of straight time or overtime, I can't remember. So if you do the calculations, I can get you the calculations. It's 52 weeks a year, we have to pay, I believe it's 3 hours Monday through Friday, and there's 3 hours for weekends. and that's just they're mandated to come in, so that's what's.
So we get a call, they gotta go.
Any other questions? Please go ahead.
So as far as court overtime, that's just when officers have to go to court and testify or? Right.
Correct.
Yeah, we've seen a drop in that over the past, since COVID, and there's a lot, don't know if that's gonna go up at some point, but we can't forecast it right now, it's going up for next year. They don't.
The reality is it's probably gonna move up.
Yeah.
This is just a estimate.
It's hard to forecast it this year, that we could justify raising it until.
Any other questions?
Is that the whole police?
No. Let's put up, we have one item on the next page, and that's standard. Any other question on this? I think we have.
Lead program, or lead, I'm not sure. Lead program?
Chief? The lead program?
The lead program, it's gonna happen, it hasn't started yet. So we had the funding last year that we have not even sent over yet. And we made a decision that we were going to send the money to the county.
Right,
and let them run it.
Requesting to have a contract before we do that.
But we kind of said that we don't need to fund it from next year because last year's funding wasn't used yet, so that, we'll have to see how the program runs for the 2024.
So the plan is, if we don't get a contract, we're gonna encumber the money so that we can hold it and move it going forward too.
And I think we'll probably have something in place by the end of the year. The numbers will work with what's there, or pretty close.
I think, go ahead.
Well, just one final question about the Axon, the officer safety plan. So, that, I know that there's no money here, because I know it's paid for. So that would, we talked about the body worn cameras, because I thought I saw a cost in here, but I can't find it now for body worn cameras. So,
Capital.
So,
Capital
thank you. So, I thought, that my understanding was this covered those, and so I'm not really understanding why I'm seeing it additional.
We have a 3-year plan, and this is the 3rd year of the capital.
Okay.
Yes. Well, we can get into capital afterwards, but yes, there's part of 3 year, but the capital, that's not just funding, it says body camera, but it really kind of funds all the computers within the department. We replaced a lot of older, I know fire chiefs talked about all of those cars, 17-year-old cars. We had a lot of computers, 10, 11 years old, just outdated with non-detected division stuff. So 2 years ago, we had a 3-year plan. This is the final year of that 3-year plan. So it's not just body cameras, it's infrastructure as far as IT and computers are concerned. That's not.
This also will pay for a portion of Axon.
Yeah, it will pay for it.
It will?
Yeah, well, yes.
The first.
We have the funding right now for first couple of years, as we talked about, for Axon program.
Because my understanding was that the Axon program can't use the existing body cameras that you have now, so that's why I was wondering why we're paying.
Yeah, no, and we can get into that, just let it wait until we get the capital.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
We do parking.
We're good on that part, animal control is on the So we'll just go to page 30.
30?
Animal control, and we'll complete PD's and budget.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Fees for service, just up 55,000, I just didn't know.
Yeah, so we
Sure.
contracted with Mohawk Hudson last year. So now we are getting, before we were housing the dogs on 19th Street down there, and after a certain amount of time, we would have to try to find homes for the dogs, we have to try to do these. Now, they all animals go to Mohawk Hudson, they care for them, they get walked several times a day. There's a lot of good stuff they're doing, so.
And just so you know, the fees were escalating every month, so we had a series of meetings with Mohawk Hudson, and obviously they're the professionals of the business. And then we came in with a number monthly, so no matter how many animals, dogs we bring there, it's a flat fee. Doesn't matter how many days they stay. We've been running into problems with animals that were assigned because of courts. We couldn't release them for months and months and months, and we just can't house them at our facility down here. We still use this as like an emergency holding area for 24 hours. but it's something that now we can give them the dogs, and also the dogs are more likely to be, adopted, and cared for, better.
Do we have these two positions filled?
One is filled, one is not currently. We are looking for one. We had some interviews, and I had some people that did not show up for interviews. So, but we are currently looking for one. So.
Go ahead, please.
And I know that they're not available on weekends.
So right now she's off, she's off Sundays and Mondays.
Oh, Sundays and Mondays.
Yeah, so she works Tuesday through Saturday currently.
I've had to call different times and they're not available and we just kind of hold on to the animal till Monday.
Yeah, so we with the other, once we hire them, we're gonna stagger the hours, stagger the schedule, so that.
I hope it can get filled.
I thought you were raising your hand, you said you wanted to take the job.
Is that a flat amount that we pay regardless? It's not like if we go over so many dogs,
No,
then we
it's flat amount.
pay a little extra for each, okay.
What happens is we saw it over end of 2021, beginning of 2022, it just keep on escalating. And we've been working with them very closely just because dog care became a task, you know, and especially without not many ACO, animal control officers. So we had a series of meetings with them just to how can we refine it, help us out. And then we redid this as a budget saver, and because our costs kept on escalating to well over what we're paying monthly fees now. But now we have no worry, we can bring them out there more often. We have if there's dog needs care with another vet, we have a cap on how much they can do before we have to give the okay, because sometimes animals come in very wounded and we have to make that determination. So it's very complicated, but from a budget standpoint, I'll speak to the budget standpoint more for, it just made budget sense to go into a contract, even though it's high, it's a lot of money, but in the long run, I think it's a great benefit to the animals in the city.
It's a fair deal. And look at the overall cost, and doing some stuff, Sam Kirksop's working on the licensing side, so it's again promoting the proper care and ownership of animals.
But does the clerk's office also do the redemption side?
Right.
So, but there's no revenue that's generated as a result of that?
There is, on the redemption, if they
There's a line item.
I don't understand what redemption, what you mean.
If
Get
you
your dog
have-
back.
First line on
You've had to take your dog into custody for something.
So the answer is there is a revenue that goes to the clerk's office for that?
There is, it's been minimal at this point.
What goes into the revenue?
General revenues.
If you look at the
But it goes, I'm saying, does it go like directly to the clerk's budget? I understand it goes in general fund.
No, it goes, well, everything goes into the general fund and then it's allocated back out to the park. There's not anything.
There's a revenue line item for it. One of the issues that we have right now is, especially now with this contract that we have, a monthly fee, how do we determine what the cost is? So we're working with the corporation councils to try and probably come to our city council with another proposal of setting fees for how long we keep the dogs and stuff like that. So we're kind of working through that right now, but it's, we just gotta figure out the cost of doing business.
Okay. Just trying to get the other body that she needs.
Also, it's about her, not us.
So right now, if I understand, like, so that the dog control officer, if they're on their days off, other officers aren't necessarily able to respond to like those type of situations.
So they do. So we have a few officers that work closely with the animal control officer now. That have gone through some of the trainings. Actually, I went to some of myself before. And then, but she's not there. So if it's somebody that did a child, and we try to call her, we try to recall her, and if she's not coming in, then one of the officers will go. We have our lieutenants oversee her, and he usually responds and helps out with that until it comes. So she's able to follow up with him. But right now, if it's off hours, it's hopefully she comes in. If not, then there are a few of us that are more trained than others.
Fill a gap there or whatever.
Nuisance calls, and we'll probably wait on them.
Yes, those will go to the.
All right, I think that's good. We just move on to, since you're here, capital.
Well, parking, you're gonna be parking.
Parking?
Oh, yeah, the parking.
Page 23.
What?
3320,
What is it, I'm sorry?
83320.
Page 23.
Page 23.
sorry, I have to ask, I know a few, individuals in the city that care for dogs or do dog training. Would you be open to creating a per diem aspect of it? I'm trying to think of individuals to apply for that type of role. Would you be open to kind of just changing how it's?
So if it's okay, I mean, I definitely am. We used to have a part-time animal control officer before, due to contract stuff, there's the primary animal control officer gets preference on coming in and things like that, but if there's somebody that's interested, absolutely, I would. I think there was a list, and I think we reached out to everybody on the list, now there is.
Well, yeah, there was a civil service list, we exhausted the list, as we say. I mean, actually, we had some no-shows,
Yes.
and one person we wouldn't consider, so.
But yeah, if you know somebody, we would definitely be interested in speaking with them, because we'd like to have that position filled.
Yeah, on a full-time basis, we'll be offering a test probably again, this year, probably sometime early next year, through civil service to take the test, but it is a tested position on a full-time basis.
Okay, page 23. Do we have all these positions filled in terms of the parking meter attendant? All four? Thanks.
We just hired one, yes, so all four are hired.
Any question on this?
It's pretty simple.
She sees where you don't have to bring this one up, I know there were no questions, that's why I missed it.
That's why I
You
wanted
don't
to
want
go
to
through
leave
it.
Go ahead.
So I have a question, so we don't have, any, parking, attendants on the weekend. Is that something that was ever considered? I mean, not for downtown by any means, I think it's important that no one has to pay on any events downtown or after hours, but there's like so much, on weekends, Saturdays, Sundays, people parked in the wrong spot, people probably calling the police department for.
Yes, I know, so our officers do a little bit, but not a lot of it. And there has been times where there's been different details where our park enforcement officers have worked weekends, for us, but there is nothing in plans currently to have somebody full-time on the weekends. But I'd be open to it for sure if we could fill the position. But yes, there's definitely, there's the main streets, and there's a lot of times where people would get calls on the weekends for them.
Right. That puts an officer out there, again, a lower call that would be taken over by someone that.
Because the meters are active, the meters are active Saturday. Yes.
No, I don't think so, I don't think we have to pay
No,
for parking.
After
Only-
5 at night.
Just Monday through Friday, I think.
No,
Correct.
man.
What?
You don't have to pay, just let them know.
Pay the parking on weekends.
That's
Even though the garage and the lot behind Proctor's charges a fee when there's an event
I
at
was gonna say that
Proctor's.
out loud.
I don't mean for downtown, I just mean the rest of the city, a lot of
Brady
parking
wanted to get
issues.
a call on
Right.
31 on the weekends.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
All right, Capital.
I'm not sure specific order you want to go in, or?
No.
Okay. I'll touch on the replacing the computers and stuff. Again, this was part of a 3-year plan that we had. This is before we went into the Axon program. I'd like to see it, if it's not fully funded, at least to be funded to some degree, because it's beyond, more than just Axon programs. But we have a number of outdated computers, server softwares that we're kind of we needed to overhaul the whole system, which we're doing really well. And this will just continue on the program. If there's monies left over at the end of the year, then we could apply them towards future Axon expenses. If it's, so we can kind of, not to say warehouse the money, but we do have 3 years to spend it. We don't obligate it or borrow it until it's needed. So it's not like it's ahead of time, right? So it's not like we're paying anything on it. But that would kind of lock us in. Like we said before at council meetings, we had 2 years worth of funding for the Axon program in hand. We already deployed our first year's expense on that, and it's all in motion and all set for next year. So we're in good shape. This would just kind of be, if council wishes, if we need to divide it out and say how much is, we need this year, we can, but I don't think it's a waste in any sense of the word. So for future future, items.
But the large part of this money is gonna be part of Exxon this year. That was our thought.
Yeah, this money won't be this for this year or next year for Axon, because we have the money in hand already for that, through grant funding and stuff.
Next year, though, for.
But yes, it'll be the following year after that, but on the same token, we still have a number of computers within the department
Right.
and some servers that we have to replace and add on to that, this money would go towards, so. It's just part of our infrastructure of our police department, so.
You said you have those numbers available?
No, I don't have it, I can probably, drill down a little bit, but I would encourage everybody to think about funding the whole thing, because it will not go to, we're not asking for fluff here, we're asking, this is for infrastructure. Once that gets set up, if there's additional funding, just like sometimes with capital funding, we can put it off towards up to 3 years from now, when we need funding there, under the capital. Again, I'm not trying to rob Peter to pay Paul, but just, it.
Yeah, sure.
I won't be here in 3 years, so you guys.
Sorry.
So you're saying there won't be any for body worn cameras or not?
No, not this year. But there will be, we do have year expenses and stuff like that.
For a year after.
2 years. 2 years, right? 2 years, yeah. And, yes.
As part of your.
And it might not even be needed, obviously, we'll go after some grant funding and so forth, so if it's not, but it's just, it does help with our infrastructure as far as computer technologies keeps on changing, and some of the things that we're doing internally is, like I said, we're embracing technology, that we put in different devices in the cars and so forth, so. Any more questions on that one?
No.
Okay.
Next slide.
All right, Solar, you wanna talk about
Or
that?
the police vehicles, please.
Oh, we'll do police vehicles next. Again, this is, part of, it really was a 3-year project that we had with, we proposed 2 years ago, this is the 3rd year of this. We asked for the replacement of these vehicles. One of the biggest problems we have right now, we ordered cars a year ago, May. We actually just rolled them out. So we're in the process, so we have a proposal for the mayor for this last capital funding to do, is rolling out, so we're a little bit behind, but it's not our fault, it's just the manufacturers, we just can't get the cars.
Yeah.
I just want to also add that 1 year in 2020, we did not purchase cars because they did not have capital projects that year, so they're a year behind too.
And so we're trying to get caught up, and our fleet is obviously just getting older and older, and it's the idea was this, is that we could expand out our fleet to have each platoon, each shift have their own bodies of cars, and then put less miles on the cars, so the cars will last longer. And that's still our goal, so we're asking for funding. We did take on some electric vehicles that we have within the police department, and I personally never drove them before, and I actually like it. It's not fun to be seen in.
It's little, it's kind of little and blue, it's like the blue.
As far as the car, actually, a lot more pep, a lot more speed, and kind of a little bit different driving.
You can sneak up on people.
You can sneak up on people, that's true.
And the new Ford you have too are hybrids also.
Yes, there are hybrids and we don't know what the mileage will
That's
be
what I was
now
gonna
yet,
ask,
but
these would be,
yes,
these be?
this is
Okay.
basically the same type of thing we've been purchasing, yes. We are looking at other options within the electric car world, but really not much more. No one really makes a police package. The problem with some of these electric cars is the stuff we have to put into them. They can't just fully be electric, so.
And may I ask another question on that? So these newer cars, when we do have the stuff that Axon will give us, they'll be able to go into these cars?
Yeah, those go into the hybrids, so those
Okay.
are Ford Interceptors and so forth.
Okay.
I was just saying, they can't go into the all electric because there's just too much.
Yeah.
There's too much weight
Too much
of the battery, yeah.
Yeah.
Too much battery.
Just like, I'm talking about like, in our detective cars, for instance, we have
Yeah.
white bars, we have certain things that they have in just low profile, but you can't like leave them on all the time because the car,
Right.
drain down.
Right.
There's different mileage you get out of it and so forth, but we're working through some of that. The radios in the cars, they have to make sure they go off, when they can. Again, we're learning how to drive electric cars because when you brake, they actually charge the battery and there's certain things
it's
that,
really.
it's kind of different, but.
Question, if you know on top of your head, how many cars are in your fleet and then how many are slated for replacement?
I don't, there's 70 some cars within our fleet, but a lot of those are, older cars that we use for, Vice Squad has like 10 cars assigned to them, they've used them just, but they're old, 10, 15-year-old cars. I can get to the number of it. We're constantly replacing them. We have basically 35 marked units within the department. So 35 of those cars, I can get you more solid numbers. With accidents and sometimes the engines go or the wear and tear, we put about 35,000 miles on a car, patrol vehicle a year, and we're trying to reduce that down to about 20, and that was the idea of this project right here. If we could have gotten the cars like we intended, we think we would have got 25,000 miles a year or less on a vehicle because of the way it would have been assigned, and therefore you get let's just say 125 to 130,000 miles out, you get 5-6 years out of it. The idea is that right now we're kind of getting 3 good years, and then the last year was a little bit skeptical. The equipment within the cars is guaranteed for 5-6 years. So we're trying to just have the longevity of the equipment in the cars, the light bars, so we're not changing it over constantly. So the plan I think was a good plan, just if we can get the cars rolling. So.
So I know that we missed 20, we did some purchase, 21, 22, I know this. Is there any way you can get a list of how much replacement we did in 21, 22? Plus 10, 14, 16 here.
How many cars were we?
How many we did in 21, 22?
Yeah.
New vehicles?
How many we purchased?
Yes.
Yes. None in 21, because we actually put an order in, and we didn't get it until 22.
How many got delivery?
Yeah, it's more how we got delivery on. So I'll have to go back to 20.
Yeah, just to see how many new vehicles in the last 2 years.
Okay.
We just got 21
yes.
cars, they're starting to roll out.
Yeah.
We haven't ordered 22s yet.
No, we just kind of got an order. I just haven't sent them there yet, just to get it's okay, so.
Okay. Do you have any more items? You did a solar, you did a pump?
Yeah, solar sign boards, we have 3 currently, so we deploy them, let the community know different events that are going on. We also put them in high traffic areas that are scattered throughout. People will call us up and ask for signs just to say slow down in different areas. So we deploy them. We had a few older ones that are no longer operational. We have 3 that are solar powered that we use. They're out every day now. Different places throughout the city. Somebody calls us up and we can kind of go on a list of we deploy them out for a week or 2 at a time. Unless there's an event or fireworks are coming up or a road's going to be closed, we'll go throw them out ahead of time. And so we would like to have 4 more of those. So we bring our total up to 7. We just got 1 last year, so.
Did you touch on property evidence storage system?
No, I'll touch on that real quick. Within I'm not sure how many council members have been to this police department for a tour, but we do have within our evidence technicians rooms, what do I call those? The sandwich file cabinets where they can store a lot of stuff. They go up to the ceiling, 14, 15 feet high. The storage areas, and I'm not doing justice to it, but it's pretty impressive. But in our records, so we have 2 rooms that house probably 2 to 3 times as much property as you could if you didn't have them. But then our archive room, is all of our old cases, detective cases, some traffic stuff that we're mandated by law to retain for a certain amount of time. Some is 3 years, some is 6 years, some is up to 25 years, depending on the crime itself. Within there, we're just running out of room. And so the idea is that if we brought this storage system, it would almost double, if not more, our capacity. Nice. So and still within the same room. So we're requesting the same type of system that we have now within our evidence rooms. It really probably should stay instead of property evidence room, our storage room. It should be a records and archive room. So it's not for property evidence. It's for records retention. So.
Any question on that? Chief, so I guess regards to the mobile camera, I know we talked many years about adding, we have 1 currently. Is that out and deployed or is that on standby?
Being repaired right now from vandalism.
It's fixed actually.
Oh, it's fixed, okay.
Yeah.
So it's back.
Yep.
And we have another one on order, I believe.
Yes. Yep.
So you're not looking at ordering additional? Because we talked about that a couple of years, kind of like look at over the years ordering 1 or 2 because it's expensive. So
may I ask what that is?
It's balancing the camera network, so some of it, as you expand the network, you don't have the need for the one-off deployments. But there are still times and places where that is useful and it creates a level of deterrence.
it's something that you want to look at. the capital budget. So complement whatever you have two, one coming in the next one.
We'll see how much interest rates go up, and you can look at the whole budget.
We talk about security, we talk about public safety, and the camera, the mobile camera is very useful.
I can tell you this, that we're looking at camera systems in general a lot. We're looking at how we can better utilize the cameras that currently exist in the city, smart city, optical sensors, the county's cameras, private cameras, how can we capture all that? There's software out there that can help us with that. There's license plate readers that we're looking at. So we're looking at the whole big picture, and that certainly could be a part of it. And we're gonna need a little bit more research to get an answer.
I'm not to delay us, but what, I don't actually know what that is.
Can I just say, when you're moving into an area, everybody knows it's there, so everybody's kind of.
That's what I'm saying, it's very useful when you have all those cameras out there, everybody knows what it is, everybody talks about it. So it's like, well,
The South Avenue, yeah.
It's a total trailer that's about half the size of a full-size table, and it goes up like around 20 feet or something, there's a bulb on top, and it's 360 camera, and
I
it's
have
solar
never seen
powered. It's been, we have others.
You don't live in
I was just gonna say, I think I'm glad, but I have
Oh,
never
we see
seen
you.
one. Okay, when we had the meeting, I think our last committee meeting, and we heard about the 500 cameras, I think Mr. Caruso was presenting. I happened to be out with my husband after that, and I said, there's 500 cameras. And he was like, oh no, like he immediately kind of hit the brakes in his car. I was like, see.
Put on fake.
We're trying to get done. Okay, I'm gonna go.
I was thinking, some of those cameras help solve, crimes.
If we actually solve the
Oh.
crime.
I would imagine.
So that's why I'm kind of like to shut out, because I know the usefulness of it.
We solve the crime of vandalism also.
The one we purchased before was with grant money, this one that we're purchasing now is with grant money. And so there is grant money to be had out there, but like the chief said, we're refining our whole system, because we have almost like information overload, how we manage it, and,
What was the last price, if you don't mind? Can you remember?
this last one,
Yeah.
it was inflated, it was towards $70,000.
$70,000?
Yeah, that's why we were gonna buy two, and we bought one, right now, because we thought we'd get them for like 40,000, but just like everything else, it keeps on going up.
Jeez, need coupons.
So.
All right. Any other business of for finance? I have a motion. Second, all in favor? Thank you.
Everybody enjoy the rest of your evening.
Good job, good job.
Part of the still gets treated better.
Well,
The fire department still gets treated better?
I gotta ask you this one question.
Of course, fire guy that has the plastic bags and cleaning out,